Peace, love, and prosperity to all of humanity on planet Earth. This is Abdul Al-Kabir, the great servant of the people. We, the people of the Empire, and as well as all people on planet Earth, as distinguished from the fake Sultan of the fake 2.0 Sultan on the from the radical left and my Trump boys. Today is February 1st, 2026, and the class today will be is called "The Question of Morocco." Why is it called that? Because there was a meeting in 1953 in which delegates of the United Nations representing their respective states had questions about Morocco. Rashid, you got to mute yourself. And so, therefore, we'll be going over it. We're going down the journey of a fly. Join me on this journey. We're all flies today. We're gonna be a fly on the wall. Ever wonder what it was like to be a fly on the wall, to see what the foreigners has to say about us? I remember my whole life. I've always heard from the black man, the black leaders and such, that the white man knows our history much more than we know our own history. And so the question is, or the question becomes, how do you get, get that information? How do you find out, right? What is it that they know that we don't know about ourselves? Well, meetings, correspondences. You see, governmental meetings and correspondences. Keep in mind that governmental meetings and correspondences are public law. You just need to know what you need to know and also where to look, right? So it allows you to be a fly on the wall because they're not talking to you, they're talking about you amongst themselves. You see? So that puts you in a situation where you're sort of like eavesdropping. You get to eavesdrop on a conversation that took place in 1953 within the United Nations. Last week, however, to recap, we did the same thing. We completed a series on the correspondence with the French Protectorate regarding the relinquishment of extraterritorial jurisdiction, the French correspondence with the United States. In that correspondence, allow me to remind you all, um, 1 second here. I gotta change some things around. Okay, right here. As this is the correspondence, right? Morocco, French protectorate in Morocco, relinquishment of extraterritorial jurisdiction by certain foreign powers. Attitude of the United States. We got to see the attitude of the United States regarding the French protectorate in Morocco. So, as a reminder, let's go to page 908. It says here, the last page, the last sentence on the previous page 907. Turning first to the subject of the revision of the protege list mentioned in Mr. Peretti's note of September 14th, it is proper to state that the protection of native Moors in Morocco by this government rests upon its treaty with Morocco of 1836 and the Madrid Convention of 1880. The treaty with Morocco of 1836 is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And the Madrid Convention, which is what? The right of protections in Morocco is in 1880. But what is the key takeaway point here? That the protection of native Moors in Morocco by this government. What government? The United States. So the United States, where is DC? Is DC located in Tangier? That's the question for the floor. Is DC located in Tangier, Kingdom of Morocco, or Fez, Kingdom of Morocco? Is that where DC is
No,
located?
No, no, it isn't.
Mm. Well, then where is DC located, Ben?
In the United
DC,
States.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yes,
DC, yeah, right?
it's
In the West, Al-Maghrib al-Aqsa, the extreme West.
right. It's up north. It's up north from here.
Hmm.
Hmm. In
Right?
in uh, in America.
Well, in American jurisdiction, but not in American land. They're in American jurisdiction in Morocco. How do we know that? How do we know that? Well, let me tell you how we know that. First, let's reemphasize that the United States are protecting the native Moors in Morocco. So they're not protecting native Moors in Morocco over here from North Africa. They're protecting the native Moors in Morocco over here in the West. Let's make that clear. So then let's go to page 910. 910. Well, first of all, it says, in as much as the Madrid Convention refers in Article 1 to the Convention of 1863 between France, Morocco, and other powers regarding the protection of native Moors, and to the British and Spanish treaties with Morocco. So you see that they are saying that about us. Not to us. We're not even supposed to know this. This is a conversation that they're having. The Negro ain't supposed to know none of this. He's supposed to be still trying to figure out yourself, still reading books, Elijah Muhammad books, not governmental correspondence. They want you reading Elijah Muhammad books. They want you reading, you know, uh, Ivan Van Sertima's books and who's ever literature that comes across the table. They don't want you reading international law. They don't want you reading governmental documents in which they're corresponding with one another, telling you the truth indirectly without really knowing it. They don't want you to be a fly on the wall. So you see, they refer to us as native Moors in Morocco, but then what did they say about themselves? 910, right? It would therefore seem that the choice of the proteges of the United States in Morocco, period. The United States is in Morocco. They said that about themselves. I didn't say that. France didn't say that. The United States said that about themselves in 1913. The United States is in Morocco, and as such, they are protecting the native Moors in Morocco, pursuant to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and the Treaty of Madrid right of protections in Morocco. Did I make myself clear?
Oh, yes. For the interest, we are reading from the um France versus the United States and Morocco. Am I correct?
No, what we're reading is this we're not reading it, we're just reviewing it. This is we're recapping this document. French protectorate in Morocco, relinquishment of extraterritorial jurisdiction by certain powers, or by certain foreign powers. Attitude of the United States. That's where you'll find this correspondence. So you see the French ambassador to the Secretary of State, French Embassy, Washington, January 8th, 1913. When we go to page 910, in which they state that they are in Morocco, that is the U.S. correspondence. Let me go up. So you see here, page 910. This was a long correspondence. Let's go up to who wrote it right here. The acting Secretary of State to the French ambassador, Department of State, Washington, February 13, 1914. So February 13, 1914, they said that they are charged with protecting the native Moors in Morocco and that the United States is in Morocco. I didn't write this. I didn't write this. So when people come with this Moors versus Moors, and the Moors are the ones from America, and the Moors are the ones from Europe, ignorance. Absolute ignorance. lack of knowledge of self. CIA, PSYOP. See, that's a new narrative. Moors versus Mers. Okay, so you take two U's and you convert it to two O's, you got Moors. You take two O's and you convert it to two U's, you got Mers. Yet it's the same people, same thing, potato potato. But we just enjoy dividing ourselves, pointing fingers at each other. They did this, we did that, he did that, da, da, da. What the hell? Can we please find solidarity? Why must we make a distinction of our people based on vowels? Do you see how ignorant that is? So then that means that the Filipinos who call themselves Moro, Moro, they're not Moors then. They're just some other type of Moors because it's spelled differently. Wow. You see the foolishness of our people, and we carry on that narrative. They feed it to us and we eat it up. Instead of using discernment to say, well, and it's easy discernment just to simply say, well, it's just two different vowels. You can you can find the word more in many different spellings. Maur, Moro, so on and so forth. Let's stop doing this to ourselves. Whether you whether you're as long as you are a melanated person, the United States, don't make a distinction between MUUR or MOOR or MORO or any other variation. They just see us as the native Moors in Morocco. But they got us believing there were Negroes, blacks, and coloreds, African Americans, and MERS. Well, adding MERS is not a good example, but they have us thinking, the general population, there were Negroes, blacks, coloreds, African Americans from Africa. And then when you start to realize that you're indigenous to this land, you say you're the Americans or you're the MERS, because the MERS is what the Americans are, and that the Moors are somebody else who came over here with Morocco. The Moors are from Morocco, and this is not Morocco. Morocco is over there somewhere. Over here, it's America, and so therefore, the ones from America, the dark skinned people from America are the MERS, and the Moors from Morocco is like Morocco is somewhere else. Not realizing that the United States said about themselves that they are where? Someone say it, please.
In Morocco.
Period. Morocco. So I think I'll listen to the Secretary of State of the United States rather than some TikToker who don't know nothing and just spewing misinformation. All right, let's get into the class, the actual class. So we'll start off um, by identifying who these people are. We have to make this point clear before we get into the question of Morocco. So anyone who has a uh, contention with the word Moorish because of ish, etymology dictionary, anyone online says that Moorish of or pertaining to the Moors. Period. How do we do this to ourselves? Well, I don't like Moorish because ish means something like. Yeah, it does mean that, but it also means of or pertaining to the Moors. See, life is about choices. The Treaty of Madrid, Article 15, is about a choice. Make your best choice. So you can choose to go with the divisional narrative, or you can choose to go with the unity narrative. I personally choose to go with the unity narrative. And if someone from Poland can be Polish, if someone from Denmark can be Danish, if someone from Great Britain can be British, then someone from Morocco can be Moorish. We got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. So this is what Moorish is, of or pertaining to the Moors. Now, more. Eddie Man Online. It's very interesting what they do when they're trying not to be direct, when they're trying to manipulate the discussion or the matter or the topic. The topic. So you see, the definition of more, noun, it gives you all this fluff. North African, Berber, one of the race dwelling in Barbary, blah, 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 blah. All this right here is fluff. They say all this right here just to say, what is that on the, what did I just highlight there?
Black.
Black. Look at that. With moros. So, Mauros. Another variation of the spelling of more. Black. You say all that to say black. Algeria. Roman Northwest Africa, a region now corresponding to the northern Algeria and Morocco. Morocco, again, is a vast empire. It's not the kingdom of Morocco. They make an attempt to just focus on the kingdom of Morocco. But then you also see inhabitants of Mauritania. Maur, Maurer, whatever, right? Okay. But then the second paragraph, there's two paragraphs here. The second paragraph, more fluff, also applied to the Arabic conquerors of Spain, blah, 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 blah. And then what do you have here? What's highlighted there?
Negro.
Yeah. Two paragraphs full of fluff, only to say black and Negro. All that fluff, black and Negro. And then down here, what does it say? Cognate with Dutch, more, Moor, German, more, Mohr, Danish, more, Maurer, Spanish, moro, Italian, moro. Same people, varying ways of spelling it. What's interesting is that the Dutch or Denmark, German or Germany, Denmark, right? Then Danish, Spain, Italy. What is their relation to the Empire of Morocco, Moors?
They were all empires, part of the empire. They were Moors. They were Moroccans.
No, no, no,
The
no, no.
signatories to the
Thank you,
treaty.
thank you. Signatories. They are the
That's why.
signatories to the treaty.
That's why they're signatories, because of the people that were there before. Same thing as over here. They got Habu properties over there. They got Habu properties here. They're custodians over there, and they're custodians here.
They are signatories because those states belong to Morocco. Those are the states belonging to the Sultan in Morocco, right? But the point being is that all these names, all these nationalities mentioned are in Morocco. And we know that because they're the signatory powers. And the dark-skinned melanated people in those territories are Moroccan, who have been naturalized in a foreign country, who must choose the entire submission. But in America, you see black. So in German is more, Dutch is more, Moro in Spain, America is black. But anyhow, so we see that more means black and Negro. I got a surprise for you in case you hadn't seen this. Now, look what comes up. Mauritania and Morocco. So when you look up more in the etymology dictionary, part of the definition is Mauritania and Morocco. What does it say about Morocco? Look at this foolishness. Look at how they play. Country in Northwest Africa. Really? Okay, well, Noble Drew Ali did say that we are in Northwest Africa. Did he not, Morris? Did Noble Ali say that we was in North, or at
That is
least the Moorish
correct.
Science Temple, or at least the Moorish Science Temple of America? Okay, so codes. Look at how they play, right? From Italian, from Berber, Marrakesh, properly the name of the city of Marrakesh. From Arabic, Maghrib al-Aqsa, extreme west. But yet you're saying as if it's Northwest Africa over there in the kingdom. So you got north, central, north, no, I'm sorry, you got north, south, well, even central, west, and east Africa. Within the landmass of Africa, you have West Africa. So if you apply the terminology extreme west to Africa, keeping in mind that the west coast of Africa is just merely the west of Africa, then what would fall under the category of an extreme west? Can someone answer that?
Over here where we at, the so-called United States.
That's the extreme west. And not just the so-called United States, is north, central, south Morocco, or what they have improperly referred to as north, central, south America. So from Alaska, Al-Aqsa, Al-Aqsa, all the way down to Brazil, that's the extreme west. So that's or that's Maghrib al-Aqsa, which is Morocco. That's where we're from. But then where is that country? Was in a shallow grave. Well, so the Moors also come from Mauritania. But hold up, before we go there, going further, in English, the first vowel has been altered, apparently by influence of MOOR. Related, what's related? Somebody read that?
Moroccans.
Okay. So I put in here more, and it pulls up Morocco. Well, first of all, it pulls up Black Negro. Then it says Morocco, related to Moroccan. But then you also have another country called Mauritania. So where is Mauritania? So the Moors could be from Morocco or Mauritania? Fair enough. Where's Mauritania? Is there an option for the Moor, for the black man to repatriate to Mauritania? Well, that country's in the shallow grave too, isn't it? Is Mauritania around? Somebody tell me, unless I'm tripping and I don't, Is Mauritania still a country? Yes or no? Is Mauritania still a country? Does Mauritania exist on the map today or as a member state of the United Nations as a country? Mauritania. Yes or no? Somebody?
No.
Okay. So the Negro in the West lost two countries? Wow. Mauritania and Morocco. But let's focus on Morocco because Morocco is over here. How do we know that Morocco is over here? Somebody tell me, please.
Because they said all the time when they talking about the US and Morocco.
The United States said that they are in Morocco.
Right.
Oh, but it ain't just the United States who said they were in Morocco. Who else said that the United States is in Morocco?
France, ICJ.
Mm-hmm. So there was a case in 1952, and every case has a title, and the title means something. It means a whole lot. It sets up the understanding for something, whether it be a document, court case, whatever the case might be. What is the title? Can somebody tell me what's the title to the France versus United States case?
France versus United States of America in Morocco.
No, that's incorrect.
Mm.
What is the proper title for that case?
Nationals. What was it?
Texans of the Nationals.
What was that?
Protection for the Nationals.
Right here. Somebody read that.
Rights of Nationals
Rights of
of the United
Nationals.
States of America in Morocco.
So the ICJ said that the United States of America is in Morocco, and it's in the title to the case. Period. What's the other word for the United States? The other identifier for the United States? America. America. America is in Morocco. America is in Morocco. So the MERS are in Morocco. So therefore, if the MERS want to be Americans, fine, have it your way. Just know that America, your so beloved country, America, you love that term, your beloved term, America, is in Morocco. And therefore, if America is in Morocco, that means Morocco has the sovereign authority. So then that means that the Moors, Moor, from Morocco have jurisdiction and authority over the MERS of America. Is this how we want to do it? Is this how we want to do it? Or should we have the proper mindset to say that whether Moor or MERS, both spellings are from Morocco, and the Moors and the MERS, both spellings, same people, have sovereign authority over the Americans? Which one do you want to go with? The choice is yours. All I'm saying is that Moor, Mer, it's all the same. Both of them are the sovereigns of the land. It's the same people, regardless on how you want to spell it. But y'all want to say that the MERS are the Americans. Okay, well then just keep in mind that America is in Morocco. Period. So I gave you definitions. Here's another definition. More fluff. This is the Britannica Encyclopedia. More in English usage, a Moroccan. Period. Everything else is fluff. You can go into or. So it tells you off top. Moroccan. In English usage, a Moroccan. Or the pale Arabs. Let's just say it like that. Keep it real. Pale Arabs that are in where? The kingdom. But it goes on to say, or formerly a member of the Muslim population of Andalus, now Spain and Portugal, of mixed Arab, Spanish, and Amazigh Berber. That's what they call the people in the kingdom of Morocco. They call the Moors in the kingdom of Morocco Amazigh and Berber. Origins, the Moors created the Islamic Andalusian civilization and subsequently settled as refugees in the Maghreb. So we just established that the Maghreb, Al-Aqsa, is Morocco of the farthest west. And then we also established that the Moors are blacks and Negroes. I don't know what to tell y'all. I'm just going off the reference points. Between the 11th and 17th centuries, by extension corresponding to the Spanish moro. They also say moreno. And they don't make a distinction between Moors, and some European Moor versus the American Moors and all this foolishness. They just see all these dark-skinned people as the same. All of them are morenos. All of them are moros. Don't make no distinction as to who sold who out or what territory or regional location they came from. It's no different than the word black. When you look at when the world looks at a black man or a melanated person, they don't say, "Oh, that's a black man from wherever," or "That's the sellout black man," or "That's a European black man," or "That's the black man from where." They don't do that. Just say black. They're all black. They're all the enemies. We're scared of all of them, regardless of where they're from. We're scared of them, and we want to be like them. They don't make no distinction. It's us who make the distinction. Oh, you're the Moor from Morocco, and we're the Moors from America. This is foolishness. It's division, is what it is. It's a cancer. That's why we can't prevail, because we lack unity, loyalty, conformity, and obedience. All we know is division. All we know is each other as ops. The Moors from Morocco are all the ops, and they came over here and they just, they conquered the Moors of America. So we got some definitions, some language here to identify who the Moors, Moroccan, and Moorish people are. But I don't think that's enough, because the Moors are hard-headed stiff-necks. So let's go further with one more point of interest to bring the point, to circle back and bring the point home. Keep in mind, we've already done this, but we're going to do it again because I'm going to give you a visual. One thing was the definition. Now I'm going to give you a visual to match the definitions. And this is important before we get into this read, because I don't want you to have any misconceptions, misinformation, misdirection of any sort based on lack of knowledge of self when you see what we're getting ready to read. So, who are the real pure blood Moroccans? Look at this brother here. El Haji Taraji, a Riff pirate. That's a Moroccan. Riff Pirates, Morocco, circa 1850. Well, that ain't the kingdom, is it? It's 1850. Look at this portrait. The Slave for Sale, Jean Leon Jerome, 1873. Which one is for sale here? Somebody tell me which one of these two ladies are being sold. And who's doing the selling?
The Europeans being sold by the.
Yeah. Yeah.
They try to confuse it and say that it's called European art, but we all know the truth.
And what year was this? 1873. See, this isn't 700 and BC or any. This is fairly recent. This is modern. This is the late 1800s. Look at your auntie. Somebody got an auntie that looked like this, or a next door neighbor.
Like Minnie Riperton.
Exactly. Portrait of a girl. Morocco. 1860. Somebody else auntie. Y'all know that lady somewhere around the corner. Moroccan girl. Jean Leon Jerome. Jean Leon Jerome. These are the painters. 1824 to 1904. The 20th century. Look at this brother. That look like your uncle, your cousin or something. Portrait of Moroccans by Spanish artist Jose Tapiro Ibarro, 1830 to 1913. Recent stuff now. This is what the Moroccans look like. That's what the Moroccan people look like. This is how we used to dress. The Funeral Day, Scene from Morocco, 1889. Okay. Look at this brother here. I can't make it up. Holding a sword. You see him at the gas station. Moroccan Tahani, Lacade, Moroccan Tahani. So in French, it's Moroccan or Moroccan. What year? 1883. Look at your stepdad, or look at your dad, or look at your uncle, right? Portrait of Moroccans, 1830 to 1913. This poll, appreciate that poll. Okay. Men of Morocco, Ferdinand Willert, 1890. So that's 10 years after the Treaty of Madrid, isn't it? The Treaty of Madrid came out in 1880. That's what the Moor looked like. Prisoners, Moroccans. So in 1875, this was another era. See all these different era. You know how you got the hip hop era, then you got the drug era, then you got the gangster movie era, then you got the civil rights era, then you got the Black Wall Street era. Okay, well this is the Moroccan era. Keep in mind, Noble Drew Ali was around during this time. What year was Noble Drew Ali born? Someone?
Sorry, 1886.
Okay, 1886. This is 1875. So he was what? 11 years old? You think Noble Drew Ali didn't notice? You think the people of that time didn't notice? It ain't just Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali is just the only one who had the courage to step out there and tell the people who's what the real deal is, what the truth was. Everyone else kept it a secret, fearing persecution. But he had what allowed him the freedom to do it was because of his wit, right? He was brilliant and smart enough to say, okay, I'm going to code this as a what? Religious organization so I can be protected. Y'all follow? I'm gonna teach this as a religious organization so that I can come under the protections of religion and let the people know who they really are. So this is what the Moroccans look like. I hope I made the point. So I gave you a visual to go along with the definition. All right. Now let's get into the class. Can I have a reader, please?
What's long?
Let me go to the read. This is the read. Go ahead, brother. Start from the top. From the United Nations.
All right.
Everything
United
all across.
Nations. United Nations General Assembly, A session, official records, first committee, 634th meeting, Tuesday, 13th October, 1953 at 3 p.m., New York. Chairman, Mr. F. Van Langenhove of Belgium. The question of Morocco. 1. Mr. Baker. Of Iraq. Expressed regret at the absence of the French delegation.
Hold on, brother. Hold on.
No,
I was on mute. I'm sorry. I was trying to say something. The
what's
question
wrong?
of Morocco. The question of Morocco is what year was this? What year was that?
1953.
Was the kingdom established yet?
Nope.
So then it's talking about what? The empire, correct?
Yes.
And the empire extend to the extreme west, Maghrib al-Aqsa. Is that correct? Did we just read that?
Yes, we did.
Which then means that it includes all the territories all the way on up from Al-Aqsa, not Alaska, Al-Aqsa, all the way down to Brazil that was conquered by Portugal or colonized by Portugal. That's the extreme west. And it also includes what else? The islands. That's the extreme west. But it also includes all the European nations, all of Europe, and the western half of Africa. All that is the Empire of Morocco. Let's make that clear. Also, keep in mind where was the capital of the empire during this time? Keep in mind also that the capital is where the Sultan would be stationed, if you will. Where was the capital of Morocco in 1953? Tangier. Where is Tangier? In what's currently known as the Kingdom of Morocco. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right. Hmm.
Get some participation. Trying to get y'all participating. Okay? Make some things clear here. 1953, the empire is still in existence. The capital was in where? Tangier, in what's currently known as the Kingdom of Morocco. That's where the Sultan was stationed. He also had palaces over here in the west. The University of Tampa was one of them. One of them. But in this correspondence, they're talking about primarily what was taking place in what's currently now known as the kingdom. But don't disregard the fact that it's an empire which extends and crosses borderlines. All of Europe, all of the West, and parts of Africa. Half of the west of Africa, probably all of Africa. But the only way I can identify Africa is based on the Circle 7 Quran, northeast to the southwest, and on across the Atlantic Ocean into what's now America. Okay? Am I clear? Do you all follow what I'm saying?
Wow.
Somebody else say Islam, somebody else say yes, or
Islam,
somebody say no.
Islam.
Thank you. All right, brother, you may go with the reading.
One, Mr. Baker of Iraq expressed regret at the absence of the French delegation. His delegation believed that all questions which gave rise to international friction should be solved in accordance with the charter and was convinced that an equitable solution to the present difficulties could be reached only by the combined efforts of the member states, including those directly interested in the problem, and most particularly France. Two,
Keep in mind that they're calling out France for not showing up to this meeting. And so Mr. Bakar of Iraq is giving you a reason as to why they didn't show up. Just want to make that clear. Continue, brother, with number two.
the absence of the French delegation could be explained in only one way. France was not interested in reaching a peaceful and mutually acceptable solution. The representatives must conclude that the French government had no serious intention of changing its policy, but will continue its repressive and ill-advised measures which hitherto had brought strife and unrest in North Africa. Three, if France truly believed that her presence in and administration of Morocco were beneficial to the people of Morocco, it would be the greatest folly to boycott the meetings. Mr. Bakar asked how the representatives could be blamed if they concluded that France, unable to face the searchlight of evidence and scrutiny, preferred to declare its righteous indignation and absent itself from hearing arguments it was apparently unable to refute. 4. The French boycott had explained and justified by citing Article 2, Paragraph 7 of the Charter. Delegations in the past had been able, he believed, to refute that contention and prove conclusively that the Moroccan dispute had such far-reaching international implications as to make it definitely undomestic in character. Mr. Bakar observed that he would not discuss the legal side of the question, since that had been exhaustively done by other delegations. But he would stress the following facts. First, the relations between France and Morocco were governed by the Treaty of Fez of 1912. Morocco was a sovereign state bound to France by an international agreement. Their relations were defined by the provisions of that agreement, and any dispute or difference of views arising out of the implications and interpretations of that treaty must be considered an international dispute. Secondly, the Act of Algeciras of 1906, signed by 12 states, among whom was France, was still in force. The status of Morocco was defined in that treaty, which also guaranteed its independence and integrity. Finally, the judgment of
What, hold on,
27
hold on. What did that treaty do? What did he say that treaty, the Act of Service do? It's highlighted. Read that again.
guaranteed its independence and integrity.
One more time.
It guaranteed its independence and integrity.
So the Act of Service guaranteed the independence and the integrity of the Empire of Morocco. That's the triple principle. Somebody come off mute and tell me what's the triple principle.
Sovereignty and independence, integrity of domains, and economic liberty without any inequality.
There you go. Sovereignty and independence and integrity of the domain. Territorial sovereignty, which the United States breached against Venezuela. So that was an international crime. Not to speak too soon, however, because it's coming out that it has something to do with the Dominion voting machine, which means he did breach American jurisdiction if he had his hands in the elections. Fulton County is on fire. Let me say that again. Fulton County is on fire. Continue, brother. Article number 7.
Finally, the judgment of 27 August 1952 of the International Court of Justice clearly stated that under the treaty, Morocco remained a sovereign state, but it made an arrangement of a contractual character whereby France undertook to exercise certain sovereign powers on behalf of Morocco. 8. Mr. Bakar then asked how it was possible to contend, therefore, that the United Nations had no right to discuss the Moroccan question. He recalled that Mr. Robert Schuman had told the General Assembly on 10 November 1952, the 392nd plenary meeting, that France was bound to Tunisia and Morocco by the treaties concluded as between sovereign states, and that the final objective of French policy was to strengthen the individuality of Morocco as a sovereign state. France, in closing, the door to objective, the deliberations on the question within the framework of the United Nations had not left other doors open for reaching a solution. Those who urged direct negotiations must surely realize, he said, that France had slammed all such doors. The leaders of Morocco had been murdered, jailed, or exiled.
Pause right there.
Well,
Isn't that what happened? Well, first of all, question. If it says leaders of Morocco, then what would those people actually look like?
Melanated people.
there's more.
Who are the Moors?
Moroccan.
Yep, but then also they are the Negro, blacks, and colors. Okay. The leaders of Morocco have been murdered, jailed, or exiled, right? We spoke about Habu properties, correct? Is the Capitol building where the governor resides or operates, is that a Habu property? Is that a Moorish building?
That is correct.
Okay. So then that would mean that once upon a time, perhaps as early as the early 1900s, there were Moors occupying those buildings as leaders of Morocco. Yes or no?
Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Casablanca, White House, same.
So then that means that those people were murdered, jailed, or exiled, and then the pale faces took over those buildings. Does that not sound like the math is mathing,
It's
or
long.
am I doing too much? Somebody tell me I'm doing too much if I'm doing too much.
No, that's exactly what it sounds like. That's
Okay.
what it is.
Yes, documents also support what you're saying.
So when you see those pictures, I don't know if you recall those old so-called slave pictures, whippings, with where they show these people, these black people, right? These Negroes, right? Slave Negroes, quote unquote, as they like to pitch it, with the slave scars on their, I'm sorry, the whip scars on the back of on their backs. Y'all recall those pictures? There's a
Oh
brother
my God.
sitting with a scar on his back from all the whippings. Is that a slave or is that a leader of Morocco?
That they were exploiting.
These were the people, all those people were being pulled out of government, whipped, beat up, hung. That wasn't no slave, nothing. That was a regime of capitulations operation. Capitulations mean conquest. They forced the Moors to surrender. They were in bed with each other. Who? The United States, France, and other European powers. Continue, brother.
The
The
remaining
remaining.
population had been terrorized in the ominous submission.
Oh, were we not? Wasn't the black man terrorized into ominous submission? KKK
Exactly.
hangings and all this and that.
Salem.
Mm-hmm. Continue.
The Istiklal and other Moroccan nationalist parties had been outlawed. The Sultan, who had sought to negotiate a settlement with France in compliance with the Assembly's resolution 612-7 and existing treaties, had been harassed, threatened, and browbeaten by the French resident representatives. France, in disregard of her treaty obligations to protect and honor him, had deposed him.
Yeah, the Sultan got deposed. Continue.
Mr. Bakar then asked where the Moroccan people should turn to receive an equitable fulfillment of their claims to liberty. The General Assembly, which had twice taken up the question of Morocco, had irrefutably demonstrated its competence and concern. But France had answered the mild Assembly resolution by taking severe measures of repression aimed at breaking the will of the Moroccan people. It had built a wall around Morocco, shutting it from the outside world and the searching eyes of the United Nations.
Did they not do that? Let's read that again. Okay.
It had
But
it had
France, but hold on, but France had answered the mild assembly resolution by taking severe measures of repression aimed at breaking the will of the Moroccan people. Who are the Moroccan people? I just showed you the portraits. I'm not
Mm.
talking about those that claim to be Moroccan today. Those are the pale Arabs. We are specifically talking about the real Moroccans, the founders and true possessors of the Moroccan Empire, the Moorish Empire, keeping in mind that Moorish means of or pertaining to the Moors, and Moors are Negroes and blacks. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't say Indian. It doesn't say American. It doesn't say FBA. It doesn't even say Mer. Continue.
it had built the wall around. Oh, I'm gonna read that again. France had answered the mild assembly resolution by taking severe measures of repression aimed at breaking the will of the Moroccan people. It had built a wall around Morocco, shutting it from the outside world and the searching eyes of the United Nations.
They shut us out of the searching out of the. They shut us out of the world and the searching eyes of the United Nations. That's okay. Article 15, subsection Moroccan nationality obsolete and without effect. That is to say that Morocco has been shut out from the outside world and the searching eyes of the United Nations. That became customs and usage. It became a thing to be placed in the dark, in the shallow grave, away from the consciousness of the people. And slowly but surely, we kept descending into a shallow grave, lost and forgotten. Lost and forgotten. However, this movement is bringing about the consciousness, the remembrance, recalling that the Moorish people have a legitimate claim not only to the Empire of Morocco, but the world as a whole. Period. Continue, brother.
Contrary to what history should have taught France, it seemed to believe it would continue to have a free hand in a leaderless and cowed Morocco. The representative of Iraq stated that repression and murder of nationalist leaders would only inflame the minds of the Moroccan people.
So we had a leaderless and cowed Morocco. We had a leaderless and cowed Morocco. That should break your heart. We got punked. We got punked into submission. Why did it happen though? A large portion of the population took sides with the Europeans. That will be discussed here. Continue, brother.
More
You left off here. Go ahead. You left off here. More ardent. Mm-hmm.
More ardent and fiery nationalists succeed the murdered moderate leaders.
Hold on, brother. You sound robotic. Maybe you need to switch up where you're at or something. Your signal might be off. Could you try it again?
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I think you sound better now. Go ahead. Sounds like he's having some problems. Someone else want to take the read?
Islam.
Go ahead, somebody.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. We can hear you.
More ardent and fiery nationalists would succeed the murdered moderate leaders. No great nation would stay leaderless unless it had spiritually disintegrated, which was not the case in Morocco. Would France, he asked, yield to reason or heed the collective voice of world opinion only when Morocco became embroiled in bloody civil strife? Mr. Bakar observed that France, by its variant conduct in North Africa and in Indochina, had given a telling and significant glimpse of its position. The representative of Iraq recalled that during the general debate in the assembly, Mr. Zafrullah Khan, representative of Pakistan, had wisely cautioned against an intransigent imperialistic policy amenable only to ruthless national resistance. The 437th plenary meeting, 13. Mr. Bakar said that France should not mistake the moderation of the Moroccan people as a sign of weakness. It should recall the magnanimity and support of the Sultan whom it had illegally deposed and of his people whom it had terrorized and humiliated. The state of war between France and the Axis powers had not legally involved the protectorate itself, but the Sultan had declared that Morocco must offer its unreserved assistance. Thousands of Moroccans had fought for France.
What happened? What happened?
Thousands of Moroccans had fought for France.
See, that's how we fell. The Moroccans took sides with France. A lot of the Moroccan warriors and soldiers fought in the war on behalf of France against their own Moroccan empire, Moors. I didn't make this up. If you want to say that those are the sellout Moors, okay. But that doesn't make it so for all the Moors. You ain't say that about Colin Powell, did you? You don't disregard the black identity because a black man named Colin Powell fought on the side of the United States. What's the difference? And that's a 5-star general. He ascended. He climbed the military ladder all the way to the top. And you don't say, well, he's black and he sold us out, so then that means I'm not black. But you do say that when it comes to the Moors. Oh, the Moors sold us out, so I'm not a Moor, I'm an American. The foolishness of our people. How about you identify who is it that sold us out, right? How about we identify who sold us out and deal with them accordingly? Not say, oh, I'm not a Moor because the Moors sold us out. That is so ignorant and egregious and divisional. Thousands of Moroccans had fought for France, Moors. Thousands others had become naturalized and subject to foreign jurisdictions as proteges and subjects of those European administrators, colonists. They became their proteges and subjects. Proteges meaning those in high ranking capacity within society, such as Barack Obama, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Maxine Waters, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Sean Carter, Jay-Z. And the list goes on and on. These are proteges. But it doesn't change the fact that they're also subjects. A protege is just merely a step above a subject. So the Moorish subjects are the everyday regular people struggling to survive. The Moorish proteges are also Moorish subjects, but they have attained a certain rank in society by their willingness to sign the contract, take the oath, to become protected, privileges and certain immunities until they get tired of you and they Diddy you. Because Diddy was one of them. But he made somebody mad. And he said, okay, I'll tell you what, deal with this. And now look where he's at. He was willing to ruffle the feathers. He may be smeared as some whatever abusive black guy. But when the dust clears and you find out what the real story is behind the scenes, he might have been a hero. I don't know. All I know is that he didn't go to jail for the charges, the egregious charges that was presented. He only, those were thrown out. Those were, nah. He got convicted of lesser crimes in which his girlfriend was with the smoke. She was with it. So now he gets penalized for transporting people. Okay. Nice try. It doesn't work with me. You got to be mindful of the news. Continue, brother.
He
The
said it was
representative. Mhm. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the representatives of Iraq observed that the recent French measures were also a violation of the international treaty between France and Morocco. Article 3 of the Treaty of Fez provided that the French government would lend constant support to His Sharifian Majesty against all dangers which might threaten his person or throne or endanger the state.
Your connection went bad again, brother. Your connection went bad. Can I get another reader until you get that corrected? But it said tranquility of his states. So the question earlier, when we were going over the different spellings of more, according to the European territory, Germany, Italy, that was the basis of the question. His states. That's why they're signatory powers. Because remember, in the Act of Algeciras, what did the Sultan do to get all the European powers to the table to discuss the reforms? He summoned them. That's a strong word. His Majesty the Sultan summoned all the heads of states of his states. Make that clear. And it was done so to reaffirm the sovereignty, independence, and the integrity of the Sultan and the empire. Continue.
Long. Article 3 of the Treaty of Fez provided that the French government would lend constant support to His Sharifian Majesty against all dangers which might threaten his person or throne or endanger the tranquility of his states, and that the same support should be given to the heir to the throne and his successors. However, the French government had continuously undermined the Sultan's authority and had finally deposed and banished him. The French maintained that they had removed the Sultan in order to save him and the country from bloodshed and unrest. However, there existed incontrovertible evidence that the French had engineered the unrest and, in doing so, had acted in accordance with the long-prepared plan to get rid of the Sultan because he had not cooperated with the French authorities and had refused to compromise the interests of his country.
Pause. 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 I don't know if the AG is on the line. I'm sure he is. The
Oh,
Prime is on the
absolutely,
line.
absolutely. Can he read that again?
Please read that again.
Islam. The French maintained that they had removed the Sultan in order to save him and the country from bloodshed and unrest. However, there existed incontrovertible evidence that the French had engineered the unrest and, in doing so, had acted in accordance with the long-prepared plan to get rid of the Sultan because he had not cooperated with the French authorities and had refused to compromise the interests of his country.
So
Pack 2.0.
correct. So it was
Go
not
ahead.
the
Go
first.
ahead,
It
AG.
was not the first time that someone had constructed to get rid of a sultan. So who was always teaching? Who was always teaching regarding this article, regarding this treaty? Who was always mentioning this treaty to y'all? Come on,
Jake.
Morris. Correct.
Jermaine.
Jermaine. So Jermaine had already knew on how he was going to construct to try to get rid of your sultan. Him, Dre, and Monica had already constructed the system through Jermaine's teaching on how he was going to construct to get rid of the Sultan. See, Jermaine tried to repeat history, and he failed. Number one reason why he failed, because he is a judge, and the Sultan oversees the judicial branch. Number two reason why he failed, once again, coming from the Constitution, is through Article 10. Number three reason why he failed is that the Sultan is not to stand in front of any tribunal during his time in office. Islam?
Islam.
The Sultan shall preside over the Prime Minister as the absolute sovereign authority in all matters of political, legal, judicial, education, economic, social, and military affairs. Continue, AG.
Islam. Point of interest. I would like to say that when they tried to perform that coup, and then when they tried to reach out to people, I was like, and that text message came out talking about don't talk to your sultan. That's crazy.
Correct. They tried to, once again, on the record, for the archives, for the future in the archives, they was reaching out to people as they were trying to pull their coup d'etat. This is another disdain on Jermaine and DeAndre for the archives, for the National Archives of the history of the Moors. This is on the record. Daryl Day has those messages. He's writing his affidavit. These type of things are on the record. So, Moors, you got to understand, which I think you would not understand. You guys overstand that Jermaine was taking his blueprint from this particular article. He says, well, I see that the French tried to do this with a Sultan. So why not me? And I have, hold on, Morris, I have name, image, and likeness. My name, my so-called name, image, and likeness is higher than who? Abdul Smith Al-Kabir, based upon him telling Abdul to stay back, you don't need to teach anymore. See, he wanted to fall in front of the line. I yield. And hopefully this clears, well, let me take it back. Hopefully this clears, this gives y'all further clarity on the seditious activity and the constitutional breach of J. Jermaine Bank, i.e. Jermaine Diaz Spencer.
The seditious one. The French maintained that they had removed the Sultan in order to save him and the country from bloodshed and unrest. Fork-tonguing, slick talk, silver, fork-tonguing, because there existed incontrovertible evidence that Impact 2.0 had engineered the unrest. See, what you guys don't understand or know, but the Wazirs do, the removed, all caps, the removed Wazirs to include the current Prime Minister, Akil Bey. There was a lot of unrest in that little text message group chat thing initiated by Jermaine Diaz Spencer. It's the same thing. He engineered the unrest. I could tell. You know, it's like one of those art of war tactics where you build someone up and then you tear them down. So he was trying to tear me down, but I ain't no damn fool. I started peeping. I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. And I told the Wazirs, I hope the Wazirs see what's going on here. And they all turned a blind eye, except for the Prime Minister, which is why He's the prime minister. I lived this. In doing so, had acted in accordance with a long prepared plan to get rid of the Sultan. It was a long prepared plan. I found out after this during the coup d'etat thing that after the public inauguration, there was there was gossip going around that I was going to be removed. That was right after, within a month of the public inauguration, June 8, 2024. A long prepared plan to get rid of the Sultan because he had not cooperated with the French, with the AMPAC 2.0 authorities, and had refused to compromise the interests of his country. I'm not the one to play with. I don't know what the hell Jermaine Diaz Spencer thought or who he thought he was dealing with. But FO. So this paragraph here gave me goosebumps when I read it. Because it's like, oh, wow. Was this his playbook? Now he got his new lead actor, Sultan of Morocco 2. Let me say that again. The corny, cornball foolishness. Sultan of Morocco 2 is his moniker. Only problem is that he's missing 2 digits to bring it all together as the facts and the truth for the world to understand and see. You already got the 2 in there. Go ahead and put the point .0, in which then it would read properly. Sultan of Morocco 2.0. Do you get my drift? Continue, brother. I think I just made my point clear. And thank you, AG, for recognizing the same.
However, there existed incontrovertible evidence that the French had engineered the unrest, and in doing so, had acted in accordance with the long prepared plan to get rid of the Sultan because he had not cooperated with the French authorities and had refused to compromise the interests of his country. An article published in La Vigie Marocaine on 21 August 1953 stated that on 17 December 1952, the representatives of the colonists addressed a memorandum to the French government proposing various measures to end the crisis in Morocco. Those measures included the deposition of the Sultan. Mr. Bakar recalled that at the end of May 1953, a petition addressed to the French government and signed by 270 pashas and caids had demanded the abdication of the Sultan, alleging that he had failed to abide by the provisions of the Islamic religious.
Pause right there. Today's, the modern 270 pashas and caids, government officials, are the foolish, seditious ones, the weak, all caps, weak, 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 removed leadership who became the Wazir of New Mecca 2.0, right? Dimti 2.0, because the Sultan of Morocco 2.0 also holds the title of Wazir for Dimti 2.0 on behalf of AMPAC 2.0. The foolish, weak Wazir of ISR 2.0. The weak, foolish Wazir of AMPAG 2.0. All of them. This also includes the legislative branch, the former removed speaker, who is now the 2.0 speaker, and also Sayaraha of Dimti 2.0. You see how they're taking on two positions? I was the only one on the empire. I was competent enough to build a state to have enough people to take the place as the wazir. I'm not finished. All the Sayarahas removed Sayarahas, house members, as well as the judges. The 270 pashas and Ks came together between the 2nd and the 3rd of October to put a vote of no confidence to have me abdicated, to force my abdication, i.e., quote unquote, so called fraudulent impeachment removal. 200, that's the exact same example. And then when you continue to read, you'll see that there was another group of pashas who was not with it. That's who's here now. You see how history repeats itself? It's very interesting, isn't it? So that means Jermaine Diaz Spencer is a French Negro. Continue reading, brother.
Orthodox.
However,
However,
Mhm.
the pashas and cades were no more than administrative officials and had no right whatsoever to interfere in political or religious matters. The ulemas alone were entitled to pass judgment on questions concerning religion. Furthermore, the three of the most important pashas of Morocco and 318 ulemas had attacked the petition and its authors and exposed them as the tools of the French administration.
Isn't that what happened?
Yep.
So therefore, um, the three of the most important pashas of Morocco was Akilzi Bey, Cicero Bey, and Kanyesho Bey. And the rest of the 318 is everyone else represented as the ulamas who had attacked the petition to have me removed. You see how the same thing is playing all over again? Real interesting, isn't it? You see, the AG gave his perspective as to why it didn't work, and he's correct. But there's a far greater consideration here. O thou favorite of heaven, chapter 22, magistrates and subjects of the Circle 7 Quran. Whoever was fortunate enough to have the scepter of power placed in his hands by the people, hear me out. Whoever was fortunate enough to have the scepter of power placed in his hands by the people is the favorite of heaven. That means, according to the Circle 7 Quran, the people place the scepter of power in my hands. That makes me the favorite of heaven. No arrogant talk here at all. It's spiritual talk based on the Circle 7 Quran. But that particular chapter is not about religion, though. It's called Magistrates and Subjects. It's about politics. It's telling the king or the sultan how he must conduct himself in honor, nobility, on behalf of the people. That's Abdul Al-Kabir, the great servant of the people. Abdullah's servant, Al-Kabir means the great. So I'm the great servant of the people. As such, O thou favorite of heaven, I'm the favorite of heaven. as distinguished from the favorite of hell, Jermaine Diaz Spencer. That's why it's not going to work. That's why it didn't work, and it's not going to work. They're not going to decolonize. No one, the United States is not going to consider working with these two seditious clowns. Trumps is what they are. It's a battle of good and evil, demons and angels. Old Al, favorite of heaven, the angel, and all those who came with the angel are also angels. And the seditious Trump who attempted the coup d'etat, who led, who spearheaded the deployment of a seditious conspiracy, him and his minions are the favorite of hell. So the de jure empire is the old Al, favorite of heaven, and Impact 2.0 is old Al, favorite of hell. So it's a divine and national movement. So the divine aspect of this is why I'm protected, Moors. I didn't do nothing else but go along with the energies of the universe. I did nothing else but to accept my position as a pawn, puppet on behalf of the ancestors. I accepted that. The ancestors carried me through this coup d'etat. The divine powers carried me through this coup d'etat. That's the greatest reason as to why it has no standing. They ain't going no damn where. And why I ain't even worried about it? I'm just teaching classes, moving forward with the decolonization reforms on behalf of the people. And now we'll circle back around and deal with them when the time is right. I yield, brother. Continue reading, please. Thank you.
18. It was clear that the French administration had wished to entrench itself before the tide of time had fully overtaken its colonialist designs. It had sought to force the Sultan to agree to grant the French minority equal rights with the whole Moroccan population. When that attempt had failed, the French administration had instigated a movement of discontent, ostensibly expressed by the Berber population against the Sultan. Although its nature was never properly described, it would seem that the Sultan, by asking for genuine reforms and true independence, had deviated from the true path of the Muslim religion. Mr. Bakar then quoted from a letter dated 12 August 1953, in which the Sultan had complained to the President of the French Republic that for several years there had been intrigues and maneuvers which, thanks to the encouragement of certain French officials, had led to the constitution of a fictitious opposition, largely composed of agents of the central authority. However, the French settlers had succeeded in obtaining the consent of the French government to their plan. The so-called civil war had been used only as a means to force the Sultan to sign the decrees of the so-called municipal reforms. When that had failed, it was used as a pretext to depose him in violation of the Treaty of Fez. The events of the last few months showed that the French government had no serious intention of implementing the General Assembly Resolution 612, Chapter 7, and was bent upon denying the Moroccan people their rightful aspirations to freedom.
Read that again. We're not going to gloss over that.
The events of the last few months showed that the French government had no serious intention of implementing the General Assembly Resolution 612, Chapter 7, and it was bent upon denying the Moroccan people their rightful aspirations to freedom.
So that we were being denied our rightful aspirations to freedom. And in so many varying different degrees of understanding. Because remember, don't get it twisted that they're speaking from the regard of the French imposing on the Sultan in North Africa. That stands true all across Morocco. That's the part that I need for you all to recognize and understand. You have the central government, the capital, located in one area, but that's not the end all be all of the territory or the country. It extends all the way up into Europe and all the way up into the West. That's very important to understand. With the clarity of that bigger picture, you can see the picture a lot clearer in how you're involved in this. Understanding that the United States and the French government were complicit, they were in bed with each other to undermine the rise of the Moors. And that's what's being discussed here. Continue, brother.
Islam. He stated that the Moroccan people should be helped to regain the independence which they lost 40 years ago. He recalled that Morocco had existed as an independent sovereign state uninterruptedly for over 1,000 years.
For how long?
For over 1,000 years.
And under what status? Uninterruptedly. Morocco had existed as an independent. So how are we rising? What is the coincidence that Resolution 1541 offers that as one of the means for decolonization? Someone tell me the three means of decolonization according to Resolution 1541. I'm listening. Somebody on here knows. Okay, help them out. When I start saying it, you're going to be able to finish it. The lowest status is what? What happened in the 60s? Integration with a sovereign state. What's the second highest status? Somebody? No?
Free association?
Free association. And what is the highest status?
Independent sovereign authority.
Sovereign independent state, to be exact, right? Exactly as it states here, an independent sovereign state. So Morocco has been that for over 1,000 years, uninterruptedly. No interruptions. So if you say over 1,000 years, and this is in 1953, then that takes you to where? What's 1,000 minus 1953? 953?
153.
Say they lost it 40 years ago from this date, so that's 1953 minus 40. So that's what, 1913?
1912 to be exact, under the Treaty of Fez.
Islam.
But 1,000 years, 953, right? But it didn't say 1,000 years, it said over 1,000 years. So you can go back to 711 when Boabdil was exiled after Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand took over Granada. Where was he exiled to? And then subsequently died. Does anyone remember? Morocco. He was exiled and he died in Morocco. I don't know which territory in Morocco. Because again, Morocco is a vast empire. Don't forget that. Don't automatically think North Africa, man. He could have went anywhere, Morocco. He just said Morocco. Okay, where's Morocco? Because Andalusia is Morocco, by the way. Again, that was the last stronghold, but the last stronghold in the east. The empire was still in existence. It didn't go. So from 1492 all the way until 1956. That's when the empire finally. But 1912 under the Treaty of Fez. So like it said here, uh, that for 40 years, Moroccan people should be helped to regain the independence with which they lost 40 years ago. So 40 years from that date is 1912. So you're looking 1492 all the way to 1912. Took a long time. It was a slow but sure decline, conquest. It didn't officially happen until 1956 when the empire went into a shallow grave, when it was shut out from the world and the searching eyes of the United Nations. According to them, according to Mr. Bakar, I didn't say that, he said it. You see how we put the pieces of the puzzle together? So someone asked me once before, well, how long has the empire been around? Well, according to the delegates of the United Nations, over 1,000 years, which I can say all the way back beyond that, 711, even beyond that. But I don't have the proof, so that's just assumption. Not even assumption, is really a hypothesis. What is a hypothesis? An intelligent guess based on your level of erudition. So according to what I've studied, it's clear to see that is way beyond that. However, I can't necessarily prove it because with the Moroccan studies, the studies of Morocco, you gotta use a lot of discernment. You gotta decipher. It's coded. Everything's coded. You gotta know what you're looking at. Just like I keep pointing out, don't think North Africa when they say Morocco. It could be anywhere. It could be from Al-Aqsa on down to Brazil. It could be somewhere in Africa. It could be somewhere in Europe. Where? Where in Morocco, sir? Boy, Abdul got exiled to Morocco and he died in Morocco. Okay, where in Morocco? That's just too vague. Because surely it ain't just North Africa. Y'all understand what it is that I'm saying? Continue, brother.
Um, Morocco had existed as an independent sovereign. Morocco had existed as an independent sovereign state uninterruptedly for over 1,000 years, and had signed treaties with England, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and Sweden. Morocco had also been one of the first foreign powers to establish diplomatic relations with the United States of America.
Everybody knows this. Everyone knows this. Again, this is delegates of the United Nations, right? Government officials, politicians, talking about the question of Morocco, meaning they're talking about us, the question of the Moors. The question of Morocco can be said as the question of the Moorish Empire, the question of the Moorish people, the question of the Moors, the question of the black man, the question of the African Americans, the question of the Negroes and their sovereign authority, and the fact that France and their respective European powers partners are complicit with oppressing, right, the rise and subjugating the rise of the Moors, placing them in a dark closet away from the world and the watching eyes of the United Nations. You see how this thing is working?
Um,
You see how this thing develops when you study a certain way, certain basic understandings that you must have. The first basic of understanding that needs to be had is what countries compose Morocco, what countries are in the dominions of Morocco. Well, the United States is in Morocco. France is in Morocco. Great Britain is in Morocco. Germany is in Morocco. Portugal is in Morocco. Netherlands is in Morocco. Spain, Sweden. They're all in England, Denmark. They're all in Morocco. But that's just according to the treaties. Outside of that, the historical accounts, oh, the only thing that we're really left with is the buildings, the Moorish architecture, which goes all the way from Al Aqsa down to Brazil, all across Europe and Russia and everywhere else, Africa and all. That's the ultimate footprint. So, how do you eat an elephant? A piece at a time. How do you decolonize? Decolonization is an elephant, a piece at a time. So you start with the signatory powers, starting with the United States, moving on up to France, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, all of them. Once we secure the sovereign independence and integrity of the empire, now we can expand, hear what I'm saying, to other territories and start asking questions. Like, what's up with the entity known as Panama, Brazil, Venezuela, Bolivia, Chile, Nicaragua, Argentina, Barbados, Jamaica, etc., etc., etc. All are Moroccan territories using colonial names. Colonization. Argentina has been colonized by Spain. Brazil has been colonized by Portugal. Panama has been colonized by Spain, Jermaine. Panama has been colonized by Spain. Signatory powers. Jamaica, Great Britain, Haiti, France, so on and so forth. That's the other understanding and recognition as to where those territories being of the Moorish Empire because of the colonial powers that are administrating those territories, which happen to be the signatory powers. Are y'all hearing me out? Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Please say yes or not.
Yes.
I need
As
somebody to
well.
say something.
The gatekeepers.
Yes.
Islam. Continue, brother. 21.
As an excuse to perpetuate their rule over the country, the French had continuously pointed to the record of their administration in Morocco. They maintained that giving Morocco its independence would halt all progress and destroy the work accomplished. Mr. Bakar then discussed actual conditions in Morocco, using only facts, which he said had been derived from French sources, lest he be accused of distortion. The protecting power, rather than attempting to reform the Moxen, the Moroccan administration, according to the provisions of the Treaty of Fez, had set up an entirely French administration. The Moxen had progressively declined and had now shrunk to the Grand Vizier's office and the ministries of Islamic justice and religious foundations. Direct French rule had been substituted for the normal functions of the Moroccan administration. Residential decrees had been gradually impinging on the Sultan's sovereignty.
Pause right there. You said a lot. Mr. Bakar said a lot. The protecting power being France, rather than attempting to reform the Moxen, the Moroccan administration, according to the provision of the Treaty of Fez, has set up an entirely French administration. That's what they did. And that's what they were talking to the United States about in that correspondence. Setting up their French court. There's a transition going on here. And we need you, United States, to recognize said transition. Okay, we'll recognize it if we're able to maintain our treaty rights and the protections of these native Moors in Morocco. And our right to hold property according to Article 11 of the Treaty of Madrid and Article 60 of the Act of Algeciras. And also, I need you all to look into this case with Mr. Benoui, whatever his name was, in which a highway was built on his land, and he's in constant litigation with who? The Moorish courts. This is what they said. I didn't say that. This is what the United States was requesting from France in exchange for the recognition. So some American citizen had their property encroached on by building a highway, and now he's in constant litigation, not with the U.S. courts, the Moorish courts. So you see, since the French courts are taking over, well, then I need you to look into this case. Yeah, that's what the United States was saying to France. So that's what they did, right? The French, and they had set up an entirely French administration. The Moxon had progressively declined and what's the Moxon? Moroccan administration. See, right here? Moxon was the Moroccan administration, the administration of the state. The Moxon had progressively declined and had now shrunk to the vizier's office and the ministries of Islamic justice and religious foundation. Oh, so you took away politics and you left religion. Y'all focus on religion. Y'all do the religious thing. We, the French people, will take care of the political and administrative side of the empire. Y'all go do religion. I don't care what it is. Baptist, Nation of Islam, whatever you want to do. You just don't have no hands in politics. Stay out of politics.
Point of
Have your
privilege.
churches and your mosques and your whatever you want to have. But but politics, you stay away from this. So it was reduced to exactly that. The Moxon was gradually reduced, progressively reduced, and it declined and it shrunk to just merely ministries of Islamic justice and the religious foundations. Wow. We understand the nature of our conditions now, don't we, Morris? I'm telling you.
Point of privilege.
I'll give you the floor. Let's continue going down this journey of what it looks like and feels like to be a fly on the wall. Go ahead, Brother Polaris.
This section right here, where they set up their own administration and diminished the Moxon, relegated them to the religion. Could not this be, as it was referred to in the legal synopsis, as an administrative failure based in the Treaty of Fez? This
Yes.
was one of the examples of that administrative failure that caused a lot of the today's that's my point of interest.
That's correct. And that's correct. And that can definitely be re-examined and looked into.
Islam.
That's absolutely correct.
Islam.
Right? So then it goes on to say direct French rule had been substituted for the normal functions of the Moroccan administration. What is Moroccan? Let's remind everyone. Okay, let's go back. So Moroccan administration means Moorish administration, which means Moor administration, which means Black administration, which means Negro administration. I'm just saying we went over this. We went over the definitions. Moor means Black and Negro, and it comes from Morocco. And more in English usage is Moroccan. This is the Britannica Encyclopedia, and who else? Eddie Mount Online, the etymology dictionary online. I didn't make this up. So the French administration substituted the normal functions of the Moroccan administration. But then you can also say, especially now in modern day times, the American administration has substituted the normal functions of the Moroccan administration. Do y'all hear me? That's what colonialism is. And so what is decolonization? Righting the wrongs, reforms, right? Trading places, meaning now we have to bring back the Moroccan administration to replace the American administration. That's decolonization. The Moroccan administration has to now replace the American administration in Morocco. The Moroccan administration in Morocco is limited to only their American citizens within their American jurisdiction. 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So the American administration has their sovereign and independence to govern their American citizens. That's it. So if you're a Negro, black, colored, paragraph 2 of the Treaty of Madrid, foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco. The laws of the country shall apply without any restrictions. That's the Moorish subject. That's Negro, black, colored. That's the American citizen. That's the naturalized American. That's the Moorish American. A Moroccan that was naturalized, born in American jurisdiction, 14th Amendment. So a Moroccan who became an American, Moorish American, Black American, Negro American, African American, Moroccans who became Americans. And the American administration replaced the Moroccan administration. So, because of the fact that the Moroccan nationality now became Black, Negro, colored, it deemed it as obsolete and without effect. So then the replacement of the Moroccan administration now brings the Moroccan nationality back up to the status of absolute with full effect. Do y'all hear what I said? Do you follow what it is that I'm putting down here, Morris?
Yes, sir.
Somebody else, please. I
Islam.
gotta hear from the floor. I want to hear from one or two people. Thank you. All right, brother, continue. 23.
Although Morocco shared with the Arab world the same culture, the French administration had built an impenetrable wall between Morocco and the main centers from which her cultural heritage had been derived. Mr. Bakar illustrated the appalling disparity between the educational facilities made available to the French minority and the neglect shown the Moroccans. On the basis of school age, population eligible to use the available Moroccan facilities, 17,270 francs had been appropriated per European school age child, whereas only 731 francs had been made available for native children.
What children?
Moroccan children.
Native. So then the United States say to France that according to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and the Treaty of Madrid, we have the right of protecting the native Moors in Morocco, and the United States is in Morocco.
Yes.
So therefore, the native children are not Native American, are they? They're native Moors, they're native Moroccans. Come on, Moors.
Not even
Can it
1,000 francs.
all be so simple? And it's like that song. Lauryn Hill sung it. Remade it. It could be so simple, but you rather make it hard. Can it be so simple, but you rather make it hard? It can be this simple, but we make it hard. We make it hard when we come with this. Well, the Moors are from Morocco and the Moors are from America and all this foolishness. You just feeding into the challenges of decolonization. You're making the decolonization efforts much more challenging. Rather than to say, okay, well, let's examine this. Are you saying that the Moors have, through Morocco, has sovereign authority over the Europeans, the ones that are colonizing us? And if I say that, and if I choose the entire submission and start to help the empire, we can get out of this mess? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, well then let's roll with it. It's that damn simple. Right, and to say, well, we shouldn't do contract, we shouldn't do treaties. The Moors didn't do contracts, the Moors didn't do treaties. We just fed off the land. Oh, so you was just this uncivilized nomad that just ate off the land? You mean to tell me that you didn't have an organized dual society with structure and laws and government, architecture? So you're just gonna feed into that narrative that you just ate off the land and you just was just hanging around the land, just on the land, just savages on the land with tribes, loincloths, just sitting in grass, smoking bongs and hookahs. That's what we did. Or were we building pyramids and cathedrals and castles? In order to build these intricate, beautiful buildings that are all interconnected, that means you must be an advanced civilization, not a savage, uncivilized civilization that eats off the land. An Amaru Khan or a Mer. You like that Mer in between America, Mer, M-E-R? Oh, see, that means that that's what we are because you see it says Mer in there. Or they might say Al Moroccan. They got American from Al Moroccan, therefore we're American. Oh, so basically you're saying that American is the connotative linguistic to the denotative language of Moroccan. So you're gonna go with the connotative instead of standing with the denotative? Okay, well then be black then. Just be black, because that's the connotative linguistic for more. You be telling us don't use that term. You got to be a more. Use the term more. Okay, well then don't use American and use the term Moroccan. You see how they get caught up in their own little words, their wordplay games? You got to make a choice. Any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country, whether it be Spain, America, Germany, Great Britain, France, Italy, Russia, any subject of Morocco who has been naturalized in a foreign country must choose. You got to make a decision and choose between the entire submission to the laws of the empire. But if you don't, then just know that foreign naturalization heretofore acquired by subjects of Morocco, the laws of the country that's colonizing you shall apply to you without any restrictions. Make a choice. So Noble Drew Ali tried to tell the Moors in the one-on-ones, let's step into the rock of salvation out of the cares of the world. The cares of the world is American jurisdiction. The rock of salvation is the Empire of Morocco. You can't spell Morocco without rock. Rock of salvation. The Moroccan jurisdiction. The Moroccan administration. So you're stepping out of and away from American administration to now accept your Moroccan administration once again, because once upon a time, the Moroccans fought on the side of the French against Morocco. You see how this comes together? I'm hoping that I'm not speaking over anyone's heads. If I am, please, I yield for any comments, questions, or concerns before we go any further. I want to make sure that I'm getting through to you. Is there anything that I may have said that's outlandish, or I'm saying too much, or if I'm going over your head? Somebody help me out. What's your points of interest? Any questions? I yield.
I ain't gonna hold you. You landing that John right now.
Islam, no, appreciate it.
Agreed.
Point of interest. What war did the French fight against the Moroccans in? Against the empire? What war did
I don't recall the war. That's a good question. I will research that and I'll present that in the class.
And what is this you're reading again, Sultan?
The Question of Morocco. It's called the Question of Morocco. Let me see what page are we on so I can show you. Okay, we're on page 47, and we are native children. Okay, go back to the top. This is what it is right here. United Nations General Assembly, 8th session, official records. First committee, 634th meeting, Tuesday, 13 October 1953 at 3 p.m., New York. So it's all these delegates of their respective countries, the General Assembly, speaking on the question of Morocco. Does that answer your question? I hope y'all were able to screenshot that. Let me put it up again. Screenshot that so you can do your research on it, read it yourself, study, make yourself approved.
That was the Franco-Moroccan War of 1844.
Correct. There you go. But then there was others as subsequent to that one as well. I can't recall them all, but I'll probably do a class on that. Okay, go ahead, brother, with number 25. Native children We're not Native American. We're Native Moroccans. So let the Siberian descendants, the descendants of the Siberians, be the Native Americans. They're native to a modern jurisdiction. That's what that means when you say you're Native American. You're native to America, a modern jurisdiction. The ancient jurisdiction, the indigenous jurisdiction, is Morocco, Moroccan. You're native Moroccan. The people are named after the land. The land is named after the people. That's why the land of the name of the land is not Turtle Island, because then that would make the people Ninja Turtles. Are you a Ninja Turtle? That's your nationality, Turtle? Because that's what it would be if the land is called Turtle Island. And it's not an island, by the way. It's a continent. The land is Morocco, period. Get over it. Study. Make yourself approved. Go ahead, brother.
He then recommended to the representatives a booklet entitled Morocco Under the Protectorate, which had been published by the Istiklal Party and had been distributed to delegations. The French administration had been organized primarily for the enrichment of the French settlers and the harnessing of Moroccan resources.
The harnessing of Moroccan resources. So it was to enrich the settlers, the French settlers, the American settlers too. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. They landed on us, right, to enrich themselves by harnessing Moroccan resources. Go ahead, brother.
And by harnessing of Moroccan resources and activities toward that end. With the impoverishment of the peasants, unemployment had become rampant. The discrimination between European and Moroccan workers was glaring. The standard of living of the Moroccan people had been declining progressively with the mounting cost of living. After 40 years of French administration, only 50,000 hectares of new land had been irrigated. The irrigation networks were operated mainly by companies composed exclusively of European settlers with the financial help of the French administration. The mining industry was almost entirely owned by French companies. Moroccan exports had not been permitted to benefit the Moroccan trade balance with hard currency markets. The people of Morocco have been deprived of the most elementary human rights. The right of political association or trade union activity had been denied to them, and they had been forced to go underground.
Pause. You know I'm going to pause. First of all, let's say Moroccan export had not been permitted to benefit the Moroccan trade balance. What is the Moroccan export? Who are the people that's associated to? Moroccan export, Moroccan, let's see, Moors, let's see, Moorish, let's see, Black, and what's that? Negro. So we had exports and a trade balance to look after. Did y'all hear me? Then the people of Morocco have been deprived, the Moors, right? The Negroes of Morocco. I got to use these terms because didn't we just look it up? I'm trying to draw the parallel. I need the people to know that a Moor, a Moroccan, is what's now misclassified as Black and Negro. So stop saying you're not a Moor. Stop saying you're not Moroccan. They know you to be that. The white man knows you better than you know yourself. That's why this is a fly on the wall journey to settle any paranoia in which you may say, well, they're finessing us. No, because they're not talking to you. They're talking to each other about you. Big difference. You're being a fly on the wall. You're eavesdropping in this conversation, and you got your mouth open and your eyes wide, like, wow. This is was I thought we were African. I thought we were African booty scratchers. No, they say that you are a Moroccan. They say that you are a native Moor. So the people of Morocco have been deprived of the most elementary human rights. The right of, so when they say, oh, civil rights was not the argument, we needed human rights. Yeah, no, no, not from that angle. We did not. What angle am I referring to? Okay, so you mean so you saying that the United States should have given us human rights? Okay, well, what does that look like first and foremost? No, no, no. The United States is not supposed to give us nothing. What the United States and the Negro leaders, like Jermaine, what they're supposed to do is stay out of the way and allow the people to grow, not interfere with the war on drugs and their miseducation and sending Negro leaders to us to lead us astray, setting up denials and impediments to keep us from rising. I don't need you to give me nothing. So therefore, the argument is not civil rights and it's not necessarily human rights either. What would have been the real argument? Considering what number 28 says. The people of Morocco have been deprived of the most elementary human rights. The right of political association or trade union activity had been denied to them and they had been forced to go underground. What rights does this represent, what I just read? It's not civil rights. It's not human rights. What rights is it?
Preemptory rights.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not looking for that answer, but that's true too.
States' rights.
What was that?
States' rights.
I didn't hear you say that again, please.
States' rights.
Period. State rights. The right for us to establish our state. And from that comes our human rights. In other words, we establish the state rights and give ourselves the human rights. Did you hear what I said?
It's
Islam.
Islam. Yeah.
Islam.
Me, no white
Islam,
man to give
Shelton.
me nothing. Stay out of my way and adhere to the treaties. That's what I need you to do, sir. I don't need you to give me nothing. I don't need you to give me Al, Bay, Ali, Al, Resolution 75. Oh, you could use those titles that are so so familiar to you at home. No, I don't need that. What I need for you to do, sir, is to stay out of my way. Because if they had stayed out of the way of Black Wall Street, what would it be today, huh? Don't infuse drugs into our community. Don't be sending these Jermaine Diaz Spencers to us. These Negro leaders that's here to lead us astray. Don't send them to me. Don't send me no federal agent. Just stay out of my way and watch me cook. See, if they left the Moors alone, the Moors would have cooked up something so serious, they would have had to do something about it. Like, damn, they're overwhelming us. We're overwhelming them now. We've been overwhelming them, which is why they had to keep their reign of power has been very uncomfortable. They have not had they have not been able to sleep soundly with both eyes closed. Moors, hear what I said. The entire time, all 250 years of the United States, they've been sleeping with one eye open. Keep an eye on these Moors. Do you agree with that, Morris? Keep an
Absolutely.
eye
Wow.
on
Wow.
Dude.
these Moors. They have not had a comfortable reign of power. They've been sleeping with one eye open like CBS. That was a nice bar from Jay-Z, by the way, in case y'all don't know. If you know, you know. So I keep one eye open like CBS. Yeah, keep an eye open. You don't want these Moors to rise up. It would be a problem. So they've been getting in the way. No, stay out of the way. I don't need no integration. I don't need no civil rights. I don't need you to give me human rights. I need you to just stay out of the way. And secondarily, or really primarily, adhere to the treaties and stay out of the way. Pay your taxes. And then we can be like Reginald Denny. We will all be able to get along. Go ahead, brother. How are you? Continue reading, please.
Islam. Freedom of the press. 28.
Yep, read it all over again, please.
All right. The people of Morocco have been deprived of the most elementary human right, the right of political association or trade union activity have been denied to them, and they have been forced to go underground. Freedom of the press and speech was completely absent. Neither equality before the law nor freedom of movement was guaranteed to Moroccans. After 40 years, the protecting power had only succeeded in making the Moroccans strangers in their own land.
Oh, oh, neither equality before the law nor freedom of movement was guaranteed to the black man. After 40 years, the protecting power had only succeeded in making the Moroccans strangers in their own homeland. Who said that?
The King, Martin Luther King.
Yeah,
Him himself. He must have read this document.
I don't know. It was in
Ooh,
1953.
saw the light on this.
So what did he say? The Negro, which equals to be what? Black, Moor, Moorish, Moroccan. Moor in English usage is a Moroccan. The Negro is languishing in the corners of American jurisdiction where he finds himself exiled on his own homeland. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. So they managed. So America and France managed to make us strangers in our own homeland. How do they do that? By telling us that we're from where?
Africa.
Yep.
Slave ships. We came on slave ships
We came
from
on
Africa.
slave ships. We came on
But
slave
you
ships
know,
from Africa. They were this big bad, they were just the big bad Nordic Vikings, went into Africa, slapped everybody up, and just snatched up all their people. And then some of them sold us. Man, get out. Listen, they said we was in slavery for 400 years. Think about this now. I was watching Malcolm X, and that was in his speech. Denzel did an excellent job with that movie, and so did Spike Lee. They said that we've been slaves for 400 years. Think about this now. Think about this. Let's do the math. Help me make the math. This year, July 4th of this year, it would mark what year of the United States independence? How many years? I just said
250,
it. Huh?
250 years, 250.
250 years. Oh, so how in the world had we been slaves for 400 years by the United States? Oh, damn. There's a problem here. We've been slaves for 400 years, yet the United States only. And at the time when he said it, it was far from 250 years. What was that, in the 1960s? I mean, do the math. I'm not a mathematician. I can't do it off the top of my head. But let's say 180 years. It was about 100. The United States had only been in existence 180 years by the time Malcolm X made that statement. So we were slaves before the United States was even exist. They came into existence in 1776. We got to know what it is that we know about ourselves. Without, lack of knowledge of selves is what's causing us to perish. No, Martin Luther King said it correctly. Exiled on their own homeland. Isn't this document saying that that the Moors were murdered and exiled? Did it not say that in this document? Yes or no?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
It said that we
does.
were exiled. But see, again, Moors, you got to know how to look at this story. You're looking at it wrong. I can tell you that because I myself have to be cognizant when I'm looking into this. When you think in exiled, you're thinking um you've been taken to another territory, right? No, not necessarily. It deals with jurisdiction. So the Moors in that are stranded in America were exiled from Morocco, but America is in Morocco. So then therefore that doesn't necessarily mean for us that we were removed or moved from one um territory to another. We're in our homeland, we're within our own dominions, we're within our own territory. But jurisdictionally, we were exiled. Did you hear what I said? Jurisdictionally, not territorially. Jurisdictionally, we were exiled. Through what? Naturalization. So we were placed in American jurisdiction, which rendered us as being exiled on our own homeland because we were subject to the jurisdiction thereof under the 14th Amendment. It's based on jurisdiction, not borderlines. Again, it's jurisdiction. The United States is in Morocco, so there's no borderlines between the United States and Morocco. It's a shared territory. Therefore, the only thing else left to understand is jurisdictionally, we were exiled. I hope that makes sense. Think of it. You have to really look at it's a multifaceted understanding. It's 5D chess. You can't look at this on the surface, it'll confuse you. It'll have you saying the Moors are from Morocco and the Moors are from America. That's because you don't understand. That means you need to do a little bit more. You're smart, but you ain't smart enough. Go study some more. America is a jurisdiction, a foreign jurisdiction that's in all actuality an illusion. Think of a football field, turf, fake grass. So the turf, the fake grass, that's America. Below that is the soil or the real grass with the real grass, the indigenous, natural, organic, real grass being covered over by the turf, the artificial grass. So Morocco is the grass or the soil below the turf, which is America. That's called extraterritoriality, extraterritorial jurisdiction. It's a blanket that's covering the land mass. So America, the term America is the turf grass. North, Central, South America is the turf, fake artificial grass that's covering the proper name, which is North, Central, South Morocco. So that's the Wizard of Oz. That's Oz. So you're in Kansas thinking that you're in Oz and believing that you're in Oz. So much so that you make excuses or you make up things to align with the idea that you're in Oz. There has been a speedy and thorough Americanization of the former Moors who journeyed here from the plains of Morocco. So now you're finding all these reasons and ways to identify with the American identity. So it's Mer, it's Amaru Khan, and it's Al Marakan, and it's Amaru, and all these things. That has nothing to do with the truth of what the land actually is, which is Morocco, which means the people are Moroccan. So that's the organic soil and the organic grass. So what's taking place right now, Morris? Rashid, you got to mute yourself, please. What's taking place right now is that artificial grass, there's a hole was made somewhere. The sun started shining through that hole. And now all that dead grass that's below that artificial turf is starting to grow through. The rose that grew from concrete. Tupac. We are the rose that's growing through concrete. The concrete is the United States, the American jurisdiction that's holding us down. But there's a crack. Sunshine reached the soil. And now here comes the blooming of this beautiful rose known as the Empire of Morocco. Did you hear what I said?
Ooh,
Continue
Islam.
reading, brother. Continue reading, please.
Oh,
Go ahead, brother. You can continue reading.
after 40 years to protect the parents, Morocco stranger. Mr. Bakar stated that France cannot face those facts, which have been drawn from its own official documents, and had preferred to absent itself from the committee. 29. He asked that the people of Morocco were not entitled to independence, and if so, should not the members of the United Nations help those struggling people to obtain their rightful place among nations?
You see that? You see that? The United Nations is to help those struggling people to obtain their rightful place among nations. Didn't Noble Drew said we need to take our place in the affairs of men? We need to take our place among nations. And who is supposed to assist with that? The United Nations. They're derelict in their duty, as we are starting to recognize that they're operating in a fashion of a gatekeeper on behalf of two of the permanent five members. Who are the two permanent five members that I'm referring to, Moors?
United States and France.
Thank you. Excellent answer. Continue reading, bro.
Um, Mr. Bakar then, no, he asked if the people of Morocco were not entitled to independence, and if so, should not the members of the United Nations help those struggling people to obtain their rightful place among nations? Mr. Bakar then read excerpts from authentic reports of the trials and sufferings of the thousands of Moroccan political prisoners. He said that following the incidents of Casablanca on 7 and 8 December 1952, the French authorities in Morocco had interned more than 5,000 members of the Independence Party. He then described conditions in various prisons. As an example, in the prisons of Azalal, some of the prisoners had to carry out hard labor from 6 to 21 hours a day under the whips of pitiless guards who flogged them for the least possible mistake. They had to live on food which had been reduced to some pieces of bread and a little bit of sickening oil. The ill and the aged could not escape the general treatment. In the region of Kiba, the prisoners were compelled to work inside some cells where they risked the danger of suffocation and landslides as a result of the explosions of dynamite used to break the rock. Hard bread was their only food. At tides, the prisoners were put to hard labor during the day. At night, they were confined in underground cells, which were unventilated grain silos. There were no contacts with the outside. They were forbidden to shave or to disinfect themselves. Mr. Bakar said that 7,000 Moroccan political prisoners were dispersed in various penitentiary centers and prisons. Conditions of deported persons were not any more inviolable. Health conditions were horrible in the centers of deportation, which were sometimes more than 1,000 kilometers from the hometown of the deportee. An exiled person was a real prisoner in a cell under the strict surveillance of one or more guards who were especially assigned to annoy him or to spy upon him. Some 500 persons had been deported. Upon arrival at their destination, the deportees had been scattered among different centers where they were compelled to live under the most painful surveillance Each deportee was isolated in a cell. Mr. Bakar described several cases and said that underfeeding, humiliation, flagrant insults, moral and physical persecution, and seclusion in cells were the ordinary rule in the regime described as residence surveil. He said that those were but a few of the horrible stories which were being enacted in the cities, the plains, and the prisons of Morocco. Those cruelties would not stifle the liberation movement. With all those repressions, there was still time for France to make of Morocco an independent friend and ally. The delegation of Iraq sincerely hoped that France would not miss that opportunity, for the time was short. History would not spare the United Nations if it washed its hands of the tragic and explosive situation which was fast developing in Morocco. Deeds spoke louder than words, and the deeds of France and Morocco were black marks which were undoing all the high claims of the free world. The United Nations must face up to its task or be branded a talking house and a paper shop with no power or influence.
See, so that's Iraq. That was Mr. Bakar, a delegate of Iraq. And look at what he closed out his argument with, going in on the United Nations. History would not spare the United Nations if it washed its hands of the tragic and explosive situation which was fast developing in Morocco. Period. So you see now, who's next? Mr. Nosek, Czechoslovakia. Let's see what this delegate has to say, brother. Yep. Okay.
Mr. Nosik of Czechoslovakia observed that the struggle of the Moroccan people for the right of self-determination and for national independence had been going on for more than 20 years. He pointed out that Mr. Franco Mitterrand, a former minister of state in the present French government, has stated in his book entitled Aux Frontières de Union Francaise that the institutions of Tunisia and Morocco were less liberal than those of Gabon, Ubangi, Kenya, and Sudan. The Slovak government had always given its firm support to the principles set forth in Article 1, Paragraph 2 of the Charter. The Czechoslovak people had always sided with the oppressed peoples. His delegation would, therefore, accord its full support to the legitimate claims of the Moroccan people. The arguments put forward by a number of delegations.
Hold on right there. So that means that had we done this in that time period, we could have reached out to the delegates of Iraq because they said that they accorded full support to the legitimate claims of the Moroccan people. Don't we have a legitimate claim?
Yeah, it's true.
So, listen, man. All this stuff going on in the Middle East, Iran, Iraq, it has to do with us. The foreign affairs, the American foreign affairs, right? Their foreign politics has to do with keeping their boots on our necks, shutting people up, right? Getting rid of certain people, liquidating people. That's a new term I learned in this document. So, on TikTok, they try to say, oh, you got to say unalive. No, I say liquidate. Liquidating people, performing Jermaine Diaz Spencer coup d'etats, right? Removing one leader and replacing them with a puppet, with a lead actor, right? While they write the script as producers and directors. Oh, I experienced that. But that's what the United States is doing with these foreign countries, especially under Bush. And all those presidents in those earlier times. But it still goes on today. It's all been an effort to keep us further and further away from rising up and making a legitimate claim that can be supported by many nations, such as Iraq in this case. Islam, continue, brother.
Um, what we have 30. Mr. Bakr then reads
No, you're in 37.
37. Pardon me. The arguments put forward by a number of delegations in the discussion on the question of Morocco have proved amply that the competence of the assembly in the matter cannot be doubted. Developments in Morocco during the past year had only served to corroborate the duty of the assembly to examine the question. Events in 1953 had shown that prevailing conditions in Morocco were unsound, that they not only constituted a source of disturbance inside the country itself, but had also elicited a growing response in African and Asian countries as well as throughout the peace-loving world. Mr. Nosek stated that structurally, the economy of Morocco was clearly colonial, produced substantial quantities of raw materials and agricultural products, which were exported wholesale at low prices, while imported products fetched incomparably higher prices. In that respect, constructive conclusions could be drawn from a United Nations survey of economic development in Africa, E2377, dated 20 March 1953. This exploitation of Morocco's national resources, coupled with the exploitation of the toiling masses, was unfortunately only too often attended by the violation of the most elementary human rights. For example, any Moroccan could be arrested on a simple oral order without a warrant of search or arrest. No public or private assemblies could be held without previous authorization. Another characteristic of the colonial regime in Morocco, he said, was obdurate resistance offered by the French authorities to the efforts on the part of indigenous workers to set up trade union organizations. French authorities gave the right of organizations to urban workers only, provided they occupied no more than 50% of the seats in the executive committees. Can somebody camelback for me? I have to do something with my son real quick.
Yeah, someone please take over.
He pointed out that the law of 24 June 1948 prohibiting establishment of independent unions by Moroccans was still in effect, as was the law of 19 January 1949, under which the right to strike was prohibited in Morocco. 41. Since the end of 1952, Morocco had lived under a regime of repression and constant persecution. The bloody events of Casablanca had been followed by waves of arrests and deportations, by arbitrary judgments, and by the prohibition of political parties. 42. The French authorities had had every opportunity to realize that the policy and methods used with regard to the people of Morocco were doomed to have failure. History had often proved that force could not serve as a basis for the peaceful coexistence of peoples. That fact had been recognized by Mr. Robert Schuman, the former French Minister of Foreign Affairs, who had declared during the sixth session of the General Assembly, 354th plenary meeting, that Franco-Moroccan negotiations would be held and would result in a friendly contractual solution freely arrived at in March 1953. However, Mr. Schuman had written in the publication La Nef, that the clarification of the French policy, with regard to Tunisia,
Yeah. Tunisia.
Tunisia and Morocco, could not be delayed if an unbridgeable, unbridgeable chasm, unbridgeable chasm was not to open between Frenchmen and the indigenous inhabitants. 43. The, the question of Morocco could be resolved by peaceful and democratic means in accordance with the principles of the Charter. As the majority of the member states had become convinced, recent developments in Morocco had proved indeed that that aim could not be attained by force and by the methods of repression used to break the movements of the Moroccan people for national liberation. The United Nations, who whose task it was to be center for the for harmonizing the efforts of nations so as to eliminate all factors which might lead to a breach of the peace, therefore had the duty of dealing with the Moroccan question. Okay. With Articles 11 and 14 of the Charter, the Czechoslovak delegation would favor any constructive proposal along those lines capable of contributing to relaxation of international tension and of helping the Moroccan people to fulfill their legitimate claims, the elementary and inalienable rights of every people. The 13 Power Draft Resolution AC1 L60 constituted such a proposal, and his delegation would support it.
Okay, so that
For
was that was
40,
Czechoslovakia, right? So now 44, Mr. Lodge. That's the United States talking. Now let's hear the hypocrisy of the United States, shall we? Continue, sister. Thank you.
Mr. Lodge, United States, declared that the aspirations towards self-government of peoples who were not who were not who were not then independent always evoked sympathy and support from Americans. The history of the United States spoke more loudly than words ever could have than words ever could have, that understanding of those who sought self-government and individual freedom. That truth was basic, despite the fact that, as his delegation had already made clear, it did not consider the matter as one which endangered the maintenance of international peace and security, and did not consider that the General Assembly was equipped to act as a court to adjudicate the various claims made concerning events in Morocco. What could what could be done, however, was to express the hope that France and Morocco would move continually closer together in achieving self-government for the people of Morocco. In that connection, his delegation noted with interest and encouragement that statement made by Mr. Maurice Schumann at the 445th plenary meeting of the General Assembly regarding the additional reforms in Morocco, in which France proposed the institution of elected representative assemblies at all levels of public life, a statute of the judiciary, which ensured the independence of judges, guarantees for the protection of the rights of individuals, and provisions giving the workers the benefit of labor union freedom. Those words were particularly encouraging in the light of Mr. Schumann's declaration that France recognized its particular responsibilities, that it agreed with the United Nations as to the nature and scope of those responsibilities, but that for that very reason it could not agree to share them. 45. The United States delegations therefore looked for the day when those hopes and aspirations would become actual realities. It hoped that nothing done in the General Assembly would promote disorder or confusion in Morocco, and that the Assembly's action would bring about an atmosphere in which France and Morocco would move continually closer to effectuating self-government for the people of Morocco.
Thank you, Speaker. We'll stop here. Um, Next is Afghanistan, but as you see, it's 10 p.m. now, so it's getting late, and we're gonna now open the floor for questions, comments. Rashid, please mute yourself. We'll now open the floor for questions, comments, and concerns. But before I do, we've seen the hypocrisy of the United States and standing with self-government of peoples. Yeah, well, why didn't you tell us that? Huh? Because this was in 1953. This is during the time when you were trying, when you know, colors are not allowed. Segregation, right? This is after the bombing of um, uh, Tulsa, Oklahoma, what they refer to as Black Wall Street. If you were supporting self-government, you would have told the Moors that they need to go work with Morocco. You would have told Dred Scott that he was a Moroccan and that he needed to petition consular court, not just merely say, "Oh, you're a uh, uh, plaintiff in error," and leave it at that without telling him why he's a plaintiff in error. Because you're calling on the wrong jurisdiction, the wrong venue. You're supposed to be talking to consular court, Moorish courts, not these American courts. You're not a citizen. You're a subject of Morocco, not a Moroccan national. That was not what was referred to as in those days because it was a monarchy. So it was subjects of Morocco. In today's democratic republic, the Sultan is now subject to the people. The people are no longer subject to Morocco or the Sultan. Sultan is subject to the people. He is the servant of the people. Period. The Sultan and the people are tied by the hip. The Sultan is the people, and the people are the Sultan. See, you can't have 1,000 people, 100 people, 1,000,000 people, however many people you have in your population. All of them can't be the Sultan. Moorish Americans. It's not an individual process. We all can't be sultans. We all weren't kings and queens. We all weren't princes and dukes and counts and such. Some of us were just the regular population. Do realize that. Please do. So my point being, though, is that whatever your population count is, you all can't be the sultan. So all of you come together and you decide who's the sultan. You choose one person, you select or elect one person to speak on your behalf at the United Nations or wherever. So you're tied by the hip. So when the sovereign authority of the office of the sultan is being circumvented, usurped is the more correct term, based on seditious activity that then also undermines the will of the people. You see, the sultan His job as the servant, the trustee, his job is to adhere to the will of the people. So if the Sultan doesn't have a voice, then the people don't have a voice. That's what was going on with Impact 2.0. Not full blown that way, because my energy wouldn't allow that to be full blown that way. It was subtle, is what it was. It was slick, SLICK, all caps. It was slick and subtle. Many who went in that direction saw it and knew, yet they still went in that direction. Why? Because the question on the floor was, who's going to write the documents? Amir Hassan El, the former removed Wazir of New Mecca, that's the question he posed in a crying fashion. Well, who's going to write the documents? Well, the documents that he's referring to is merely the judicial documents. Because you can certainly write a letter. Well, the judicial documents wasn't necessarily written all from the head. It's all copy, paste, plug, and play. Everything is copy, paste, plug, and play. Everything is politically prepared. The genius is in recognizing the fact that that approach is available to copy, paste, plug, and play. That's the genius part of it. That's the brilliant part of Germain. Like, oh, well, I could just copy, paste, and plug and play this. So the Constitution was copy, paste, plug, and played from the French Constitution and others, such as the U.S. Constitution, as well as the U.S. You'll see elements of the U.S. Constitution in the Empire of Morocco's Constitution. All the documents that he's drafted has been all copy, paste, plug, and play. That's the genius in his approach. But we see here that France and the United States, the Americans, you see how he referred to the Americans, the Amarukans, the Amarus, wherever you, the Al-Moroccans, the Americans. So this delegate was speaking on behalf of the United States, and he referred to the United States as the Americans. The Americans support self-determination. So when you say you're a Mer and the Mers are from America, you're saying that you're the Americans. Well, then if you're the Americans, then what are they? Well, you can say that they're Europeans, chiefly British in all actuality. They're British. Well, they sought to forego the British subject designation or status or nationality to establish their own, which then became American after the 13 colonies. So it was the 13 colonies who then became the United States of America, recognized by Sultan Sidi Muhammad in 1786 under the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So it's the Treaty of Morocco, it's the Moroccan hyphen American Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So one side is the Moroccans, the other side is the Americans. The Moorish Americans say that they're both sides. They're the Moors and the Americans. Wrong answer. Choose. You must choose one or the other. Either you're an American or you're a Moor. You can't be both. So if you say you a Mer, and the Mers are the Americans, then you represent the American side of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Which means that's the subordinate side. Is that what you choose? Or do you rather do a little deeper research to determine what's really real and perhaps have the proper understanding uh, of what the real deal is in order for you to make a more informed decision, in order for you to make a more informed choice? Because to choose American jurisdiction, because you think you're an American, that shows the world that you made an uninformed decision. That's an uninformed decision. Because the MERS are actually associated to the Washita. Well, the Wachitas ain't Americans. Right? Make it make sense, Morse. The Washita aren't Americans. The territory of the Washita, right? America might be claiming it, but the Washita's territory is in Morocco because the land is Morocco. It's not America. I'll say it again. They said it they said it already. I showed you on the beginning in the beginning of the class based on the documents that we went over in previous classes. 2 sessions it took. In between, we had to stop to do the Noble Drew Ali commemoration, honoring Noble Drew Ali's birthday. We see that AMPAC 2.0 is now honoring Noble Drew Ali's birthday. And follow the leader. Of course, I'm the Sultan. You follow the lead of the Sultan. So good job in putting together a commemoration for Noble Drew Ali's birthday. So we had to stop the first correspondence to honor Noble Drew Ali. Then we went back to the correspondence. What correspondence? The one in which we identified this one right here, in which the United States said that they are in Morocco. So if the United States is in Morocco, then that means that Washita is in Morocco. Now, isn't that the truth? Which means that the Moors are the Moors. So study, make yourself approved so that you can make a more informed decision when the time comes for you to have to make a choice between Morocco and America. Any questions, comments, or concerns before we close out?
I do have an observation. Could you go back to the question of Morocco? Can you scroll up to that section that talked about the setting up the French administration and minimizing the Moxon?
Let's see if we can, right here, the Moroccan administration, I think is
It was
right
right
here.
here, yeah. Yeah, so that was 20. I'm just making a note of that was 20. And so last night at the Wazir Council, the Wazirs and yourself, we worked on the comprehensive legal synopsis, and there's a section in there called the administrative failure, and I had some things. I had the treaty affairs as one of them, but it couldn't be justified. You know, you erased it, and I couldn't defend it. But Mr. Bakra, and that's how his name is pronounced in Arabic, he gives an expose here. He gives the most damning evidence for administrative failure here in 20 and 28. You go down to 28. Those 2 sections are the most damning out of this whole document, out of all the delegates that spoke. Right here, 28. Those 2 sections would qualify as administrative failures for that comprehensive legal synopsis.
Yes, it would, as well as the replacement, the treaty violation in which they replaced the ordinary, right, Moroccan administration with the French administration.
Well, that's what I was talking about. That's what I thought it set up at 20. That's the one I wanted you to go back to.
Well,
Those
that's where I was. You told me to come down to 28, but yeah, that's where I was.
yeah. So yeah, those two sections are the most damning, and I would suspect that if they were oppressing the Moroccans like that in Morocco, that would have gone throughout all of the Moroccan Empire. They would have set a precedent for the entire Moroccan Empire, England, Denmark, France, all of them. So that is the administrative failure that we can look at. I yield.
Yep. Indeed, received. Anyone else has a point of interest?
Yes, Salted. What's boggling me is that, in 1913, they did all that to, to oppress the Moors and make them strangers in their own land. But yet in 1952, they filed the case against the rights of national in the United States in Morocco, you know, um, and I'm not understanding. I was like, wow, this is crazy what I'm listening to today. You know, this it's like, wow.
Yeah. And again,
Um,
go ahead,
mhm.
brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. And as earlier as we was talking, when you asked us to take the screenshot, I was sometimes for some reason I was dropped, not by you, but I got dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get the information. And the brother was explaining what war was fought against the Moroccan government, but I couldn't get a chance to
What war
hear
did
it.
you
But
say
if I
that was,
tried,
brother? Polaris, in which the Moroccans fought on the side of the French.
Um, that was the Morocco. Let me look back that up. That was the Morocco, the French Moroccan War of 1884.
Mm. There you go, of 1884, the Moroccan War of 18
Franco
Franco
Moroccan War of
the
1884.
Franco-Moroccan War of 1884. Okay,
well, I
there
never
you
heard of
go.
it before.
And that's the war in which, and there was another one I can't recall the name of it. I think it was a more recent one as well. Um, Somewhere in the 1900s. They fought on the side of the French during World War One and World War Two. The Moors fought on the side of all the Europeans during World War One and World War Two. Over here in America, well, not over here in America, but in America, Great Britain, France, they all had Germany, they all had Moors fighting on their side. We've been helping these Europeans
I
more
remember
than we've been.
Sinetta. He was having one of his famous debate videos where Dr. Aline from out of North
Mhm.
Carolina was
Mhm.
debating Cyrus Seti. And Cyrus Seti came in with all these videos because he was lambasting the Moors, and
Mhm.
that's what he showed. He showed how the Moors was fighting in all these wars, and why he would
Mhm.
never wear fez because he was showing those Moors. Did you recall seeing it?
I recall that. Yeah,
That
I do.
debate?
I know exactly which debate you. They were like in a gym or something.
Huh?
They were like in a
Yeah, yeah,
gymnasium or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I,
remember that. They use
yeah,
that. They always use that. All those
yeah.
all those black guys, Pan African dudes. That's what they use. The Moors
Mm,
sold us out. The Moors were fighting on their side. Okay, well, you still say black power, and the black man fought on the side of the United States. Oh, you see the foolishness? All the Moors. I mean, it was millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of Moors all across planet Earth. All those people didn't fight in the wars. Just like all black people didn't fight in the Vietnam War, or any World War One or World War Two war, or Afghanistan, or anything like that. All black people didn't fight in the war. So how do you attest that in the feds to all Moors? No, it was a certain few, however many it was. But the point being is that that's all that was necessary to allow them to maintain military power. It doesn't require all of us. That's how formidable, how much of formidable warriors we are. So it wasn't all Moors. Just the same way it ain't all black people who was in the wars on the side of the United States, man. But you're right. They used that. Nasheed Tariq did it too. Talking about the Portuguese Moors or something with Portugal and the Moors in Portugal that went to Africa and had all these Africans lined up, and then you had the dark Africans lined up, and then you had these other dark skinned Moors with the fezzes on. Okay, so that's in the past. They're dead and gone. Allah has already dealt with them, if you will. I don't know what to tell you, but it doesn't change the fact that you're a Moor and that your national headdress is a fez or a turban. You let a select few soil it for you. You allow a select few to soil it for you in the grand scheme of who you are. That's nonsensical. That's unintelligent. It's nonsensical. It's frivolity. It's a matter of laughter. It's silliness. It's something not to be respected. It's a mindset to not be respected. Period.
A lot of people do that too, Sultan. A
Yeah, that's
lot
what
of
I'm
people
saying.
do that. And the minute they hear something that the Moors did something wrong, I got a best friend who's smarter than a whip, you know, and he refused to he said, I can't believe you want to be one of those Moors, and after you know the history. I said, that don't change that we ain't Moors. That's what I tell
Right.
them. I know the history of the Moors, they dirty history, but that ain't all of us, like you just said.
Right. It ain't all the Moors. It doesn't change the fact, but I still trip about the fact that you know that black people have sold us out too. In the status of black, our people in the status of black sold us out too, but you don't disassociate yourself with the word black. You double down on it. Black power, you throw the fist in the air, you're a Pan-African.
They love it.
They love it, but then they know that black people sold the Moors in the status of a black man has sold you out too.
That's true.
That's that's
Good
so
way of looking
unintelligent. That is just it's silliness, man. It's unintelligent. It's silliness. It's foolishness. It's childlike. It's a childish mindset. Like I said, when people look at you, they don't look. When others look at you or look at us, they don't look at us and make distinctions of who sold who out and what time period and where the Moors with this group of Moors, but what territory this group of Moors from versus the territory of this other group of Moors. No, all of y'all Moors, all of y'all are black, all y'all Negroes, all y'all are African Americans, all y'all are Moroccans, Moros, Morenos, Latinos. They look at you, they say Moreno. They don't say, "Oh, you're not a Moreno. You're black. You're a Negro." And then this one is a Moreno. They don't. Nobody does that. Ugh. Only people that do that is us. And that's what drives the lack of unity. So here at the Empire, we're working diligently to try to reverse that that psychosis. We're working diligently to reverse that generational curse, to establish now unity. Keep it simple. What is the question? Colonialism. What is the solution? The Empire of Morocco. Or you can move to another country. But preferably, you want to choose entire submission to the laws of your empire. What does the treaty say? What does the treaty say as to who collects the taxes, who is the governing authority? Well, it says the Moorish authorities, the Sharifian authorities, the Moroccan government, the Sharifian government, uh, His Majesty the Sultan, the Empire of Morocco, the Moorish Empire, right? The Sharifian Empire. These are the terms that are being used. It says that every real estate transaction that takes place in Morocco right, by the foreigners. The Kadi, which is a Moorish administrator, a Moorish judge, a tax assessor. The Kadi is the judge. There's really a judge, but you have tax assessors, Moorish tax assessors that that must uh, satisfy themselves of the validity of the deed. Upon validation, you may close, and upon closing, you must pay 2% of the fair market value of that property. Who collects that? The Moorish authorities. Period. So, understanding that, you got a choice. Do you want to be the tax collector, which are the Moors, according to the treaty, which is a contract? Or do you want to be the taxpayer, which are the Americans? Or or according to you, the MERS. So the MERS are the Americans. Okay, have fun with that, because according to the contract, the Americans pay taxes to the Moors. So if you say that the MERS are Americans, then there you go. The Americans or the MERS got to pay taxes to the Moors. You see how unintelligence and a lack of knowledge of self causes us to perish, because you live off the land. So you don't have an organized dual society. You don't have a structure. So therefore, it makes sense. If you're uncivilized to that degree where you just live off the land, which means you don't have an organized dual society, which means you don't have a government structure, then it makes sense that you don't collect no taxes now, does it? Did you see how they played themselves with those statements? The Moors are from Morocco, and the Moroccans are those who are tasked with the responsibility of collecting taxes. Good news, it's a new re-emerged empire. So we get to start from scratch. All the filth has been removed, even up until October. The modern filth of AMPAC 2.0 has been disposed of. It's somewhere in the landfill playing Empire games. It's somewhere in some landfill somewhere playing Empire games. Did you hear what I said? I said what I mean. I mean what I said. They have been disposed of. This is the new clean empire with a new direction, a new vision. And we are going to complete the decolonization process. It's us who were tasked with that divine order, that divine mandate. The meek shall inherit the earth. It didn't say the filth shall inherit the earth. It didn't say the sellouts, the federal agents shall inherit the earth, does it? It says the meek shall inherit the earth. So those of us who are rising up from a meek status of a lack of knowledge of self, emerging into an absolute status of Moroccans with the full force and effect to enforce Moroccan laws. That's who's going to emerge as the new empire. The favorites, plural, the favorites of heaven, because it's not just me. It's all of those who's rolling with the Jor Sharifian Empire, as distinguished from the seditious, radical faction known as AMPAC 2.0 and its associates. That's the filth that was disposed of that's playing empire games in some landfill somewhere that nobody don't care nothing of. The viewership, the reduction in the viewership shows what needs to be understood. So they can play all the games they want. They can do all their little WRC fake interviews with a removed wazir, the same removed wazir who said, "Who's going to write the document?" See, that's the so called interviewer who also interviewed me. Someone sent me the video and they said they look miserable. Yes, they do. Especially Amir Hassan El. He knows the difference of quality in interview when he interviewed me versus the 2.0 Sultan. That's why he looks miserable, good brother. Because he knows Kendon ain't it. They all know Kendon ain't it. In the absence of Jermaine, it was Abdul Al-Kabir who was course correcting everybody and teaching everybody and telling everybody, oh, hold up, this is wrong. This is the more correct way of doing the matter. Not no Kendon. He was the student. In fact, he's the wazir because of me. So, just to make you feel comfortable, you're in the right place. Those over there, good luck with that. Any other further questions or concerns? Questions, comments, or concerns? We're getting ready to close out. I'm having fun though. This was a great presentation. And by the way, credit where credit is due. Guess who put me onto this document? The fake Sultan 2.0. The fake Sultan 2.0. Kendon put me onto this document. So you need to take a look at this document. It's what, because that's what he used to call me, because that's what I am. That's what I still am.
I have
You
one
need to
more
look at this
question.
document.
The
So I would hold on a
document,
second. So I would hold on. So then this is the second time that I'm presenting this document. So to give credit where credit is due, the fake Sultan of Morocco, Kendon 2.0, he's who put me onto this specific document that I'm presenting to you all today. Go ahead, brother Polaris.
yeah, the question of Morocco is continued on page
It,
45. Where
it
did
is.
it start?
I don't know. This is the only document I have. I can't find the other one.
Okay, all right, I yield.
So if anyone want to help find it, please do so. Send it to me, and we'll do a class on it. I can't find it. I've been looking for it since I got this document, and that was probably 2 years ago.
Well, I got what I needed to see off of this document. This has been very helpful, and I'm glad you did this class.
Over 1,000 years, the empire has been an uninterrupted, sovereign, independent state. Over 1,000 years. That comes from the delegates of the United Nations. That didn't come from me. That didn't come from any of the Moroccans. It came from the delegates of the United Nations, the General Assembly. What is the General Assembly? The General Assembly is the 193 member states. I think they know something a lot more than they may know a little bit more about things regarding us than we know about ourselves. Remember, we were locked away. There was a wall that was built around us to get us out of the consciousness of humanity, of the world, and the watching eyes of the United Nations. You see, Morris? So, if we have been placed in darkness, Brother Polaris, what shall we do in order to emerge into the marvelous light?
We've got to rise like the sun. We've got to take this to the court of public opinion.
We gotta take it to the court of public opinion. We need to bring about awareness instead of remaining in the dark because we're the competent authority and people need to be reaching out to us. We don't reach out to them. We're the competent authority. No, arrogant. That's the wrong, arrogant answer. Humility, please. Let's be humble. We need to bring awareness, which means you need to reach out. But in doing so, you're showing that you took steps to help yourself. See, people will be willing to assist you if you first help yourself. If you're not helping yourself, why you got your hands out? Start the process of helping yourself and get to a certain point to where you may feel stuck, and then you reach out and say, listen, man, I need some help. And persons, remember, the state is a person in international law, persons would be more apt to assist. That's why Libya, Gaddafi was willing to assist Farrakhan, because at least the Nation of Islam shows some sort of willingness to stand up and do something for the people. Elijah's Muhammad's transgressions, coming from being a Moorish American, has nothing to do with the general membership of the Nation of Islam. The general membership is innocent. Those who know the supreme, what they call it, I guess you could say the supreme mathematics, but no, it's with the supreme, I forgot what they call it. It's like the added chamber. They had their own added chamber. Supreme wisdom, I think is what they called it. That's where you go and you get the secrets. Those who have been members of the supreme wisdom perhaps may know. They came to the knowledge. But see, whenever you have a secret organization, a secret section of an organization, something ain't right with that. Why you gotta have secret information? Why can't the information be general for all the people? Why you gotta have secrets and you gotta go through all these different rituals before you even get to the information? This is foolishness. The information is for all, not for certain people to gatekeep. But the point being, nonetheless, is that they showed some sort of solidarity in an attempt to achieve some sort of forward progress. That means you're helping yourself. So Gaddafi was willing to assist with $1 billion. That's why they liquidated Gaddafi. One of the reasons why they liquidated Gaddafi, plus what he was doing in Africa and all those things. But what you do in Africa is what you do in Africa. But you don't come over here in America, in American jurisdiction, and mess with our subjects. This is what Hillary Clinton and Obama said to Gaddafi. I'm just saying. I don't know if they said that. I'm just saying. That's just me being facetious. So anyway, I hope that this information reached you in such a way that you may be willing to receive it by way of understanding, 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 and overstanding it. And I have the reference point on the screen for you to screenshot and go back and look it up and read it yourself. Study and make yourself approve. Because by way of studying, the proper reference point is what allows for regaining knowledge of self. You got to know what to look, where to look, and what to look at. Because there's way too much information that causes confusion. The CIA has done a great job in muddying the waters, which caused us to go in circles, buffering, going in circles, no forward progress. So you need to identify the proper information that allows or lends itself to forward progress. This type of information is what lends itself to forward progress, because you see within it what the French transgressions against the empire and the Moroccan people look like. Now you know why Louisiana has a French quarters, French influence. You see, in American jurisdiction, that shows it shows the complicity between the French government and the American government to oppress and suppress the rise of the Moors. Well, that day is over with. Like I said, the sun is shining through that crack of that concrete. And from that, here comes a beautiful rose petal that's emerging through the cracks without damaged petals. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? We'll go ahead and close out now. Okay, wonderful. I hope you enjoyed the class. Come back next week for part 2 of the General Assembly's The Question of Morocco. Peace, love, and prosperity. Long live the empire and His Majesty the Sultan. Islam, Moors.
Long live the
Long
Continental
Peace and
Empire and His
love.
Majesty's
Long live the
Sultan.
Peace and
Empire.
love, y'all.
Long live
Peace
us
and
all.
love.
We are
Long live the
one
Moorish
people.
Empire and His
We are
Majesty
one
the
state.
Sultan.
We are one nationality.
Long live the Empire.
People.
Islam.
His Majesty the Sultan.
Great
Have a
flag,
blessed
great
day.
flag. Long live the empire.